Chapter 594, 2 Against 1. Chapter 594, 2 Against 1. Have you lost it? Everyone watched Zhuo Fan in shock. The damn punk doesn't give a rat's ass about anything, doing and saying whatever he wants. Those right there are ethereal stage experts while you're just a fresh radiant stage laborer. Is death that enticing? Zhuo Fan, venerable by started, but Zhuo Fan chuckled. These poor elders just lost their kin. The least I can do is get their hopes up. Venerable by sighed. You're not giving them hope but your life. It's fine. Besides, everyone here can attest to my integrity and kindness. It all comes down to having what it takes to take it. Zhuo Fan grinned. I just love getting these pesky coots who always keep butting in my affairs. Hopes up, then crushing them. No matter how much Venerable Bai and Chi were against it, there was no point crying over spilled milk. Since he was so cocky in his skills, why not just let them sort it out themselves? The fiends were still annoyed that Zhuo Fan went over them and challenged the elite area. It was a wonderful contradiction with their fondness for talent, as they hoped he'd grow up to his potential. However, the sex rule left them hopeless once the challenge was made. None could interfere in this battle. All watched on with eager looks. In one corner were two very influential elders. In the second and third layer of ethereal stage that could pop a radiant stage cultivator with a snap of their fingers, the challenger was the ineffable founder of the elite labor office, Steward Zhuo. He had them wondering what act he was playing this time. From the moment he threw the heads of the elders, some astute oldies noticed he was taunting the two to this exact moment. But what good would getting them berserk do? Which made this fight all the more interesting. He against a pipsqueak. 2 is overkill. Second elder spat. Seventh elder. May I take revenge for your granddaughter? Having you join him will give him too much credit. Seventh elder was totally against this idea, but he still nodded. Fine, just make it quick. Obviously, second elder saw Chi Feng's head once more and roared. Fenger, I will have your revenge. Second elder flicked his hand and unleashed a terrible soul wind. The audience tensed. That's an ethereal stage expert's soul attack, which no Yuan Chi or body could withstand. Kuei-Lang's group knew what Zhuo Fan could do, but even that fell short against a soul attack of this magnitude. Then again, Zhuo Fan didn't care. He just gave a dismissive wave like swatting a fly, and the attack was no more. Second elder was dumbfounded. How the hell? The audience even more so, since when could a fresh radiant stage cultivator just shirk off a high and mighty ethereal stage expert soul attack? Unless he has a soul form too. That's the only explanation he's still alive. But that's even more impossible. He just reached the radiant stage. Everyone peered at Zhuo Fan to find his secret. The two elders noticed Zhuo Fan's creepy smile, and their hearts jumped. Seventh elder, this kid's strange. While I attack again, you take his head. Second elder sensed. Seventh elder nodded as second elder shot for Zhuo Fan with an even bigger soul pressure. New novel chapters are published in Freewebble. CM. Common sense dictated a radiant stage cultivator would have died by now from having their soul crushed, yet Zhuo Fan took it like a champ. He just stood there, as if second elder's soul pressure was but a cooling spring breeze. Second elder turned serious as he waved his hands, and a fire sea ignited around Zhuo Fan. Inferno. Venerable Bai cried. Second elder's soul is the fire element, and that is soul fire. Nothing physical can affect it. The only way to withstand it is with a strong soul. What do we do? Isn't Steward Zhuo just a radiant stage cultivator? How can he withstand a soul fire? Yu Ling panicked. Kuei-Lang's side was tense, just as a cool voice came from within the raging fire. Divine Eye of the Void's fourth stage, Space Crusher. The shockwave ensued, clearing up 100-meter sphere around him with a bang. Everything crushed to nothing. The soul fire stood no chance in this absolute domain. Second elder faltered 2 steps, shocked and blood coming out of his mouth. The appearance of Space Crusher annihilated his soul fire and in turn gave his soul a deep scar, yet he could hardly believe a punk was capable of such a feat. How did he? The rest were too out of it to react. A fresh radiant stage cultivator just wounded an ethereal stage expert. That's unheard of. They gulped as they watched the smug Zhuo Fan within the fire. He's a monster with total confidence in dealing with the elders. That means the challenge was made on purpose to target them. He's after. Everyone shivered. The labor office's steward didn't do it to get back at two disciples, but to get the elders' heads. SSS. With a gasp, the audience realized the sheer scope of his ploy. Everything had been done to bait them, including this so-called apology banquet. To kill the elders in plain sight, they saw Juefan's right eye glowing with four golden halos and shook since they were elders. Not any challenge would be accepted on the spot. These two were victims of circumstances, forced into a corner without realizing that gave Juefan the moral high ground in dispatching them for all to see. All held Juefan in fear and respect. Not just disciples, but elders and venerables as well. The kid's mind was more twisted than the oldies. Grinning from ear to ear, Juefan only cared about one thing: killing. His right eye shined golden once more. Divine Eye of the Void's first stage shift. He bam-fed right in front of his quarry and unleashed a palm attack with a draconic roar. The palm felt like a dragon claw of outstanding might clawing at Second Elder's chest. His attempt at using his soul fire to defend proved feeble as the sheer pressure left him gasping. How? Am I feeling soul pressure? Why you formed your soul? Second Elder's heart cried out in disbelief. Just a radiant stage laborer, and yet had a soul form like an ethereal stage expert. And to make it worse, the soul form was even stronger, putting pressure on his own. Chapter 595. No one's going anywhere. Chapter 595. No one's going anywhere. 7th grade, demonic treasure, soul eater. Second Elder figured out he was getting the short straw when it came to using his soul to attack, which rendered the ethereal stage's defining ability useless. Left with no choice, he'd fight the old-fashioned way. There was no way his larger Yuan Shi, thanks to his ethereal stage cultivation and the help of the 7th grade demonic treasure, couldn't chop the punk up. Fighting with fist against a radiant stage cultivator was utterly ridiculous for an ethereal stage expert. However, everyone here knew he was forced by circumstances, but if there was one thing Juefan prided himself on, it was his body. Coupled with his sturdy Qilin arm that no tool could scratch, that 7th grade toy was nothing but a toothpick. Grinning from ear to ear, Juefan said, "Second Elder, allow me to send you off to your grandson." Hi, ghostly dragon claw. Roar. The draconic roar added to the Qilin's glowing arm, amplifying the strikes suddenly. Dozens of wind blades came for Juefan's back. The soul vibe from them spoke volumes. The attacker was an ethereal stage expert, as well, glancing beyond the wind blades at 7th Elder. Juefan smirked, uncaring as his claw continued clang. The claw and sword clashed, letting out sparks, followed by the sound of the sword cracking with a bang. The 7th grade demonic treasure broke like a twig under Juefan's attack, and as it reflected in Second Elder's horrified eyes, it struck home. A simple groan came as blood and gore spurted from smashing Second Elder into a pulp. The area reeked of blood within seconds, staining the ground and sending a shiver down the audience's spine. It was one thing to guess Juefan's master plan, and another to see it executed with such ease. The brat went and frickin' done it. Whoosh! A blaze came from the pile of red goo, flying as fast as it could from here. Having cooled down, Second Elder knew he'd been duped. Everything Juefan did was a meticulous effort to take their lives. It hadn't even been 5 exchanges, and he was already down one body. He was filled with regret now for his raging temper. It only spoke volumes of how insidious and cunning the kid was. Now, his only chance was to get the hell out of here and under Venerable Shur's wing one day. He would have his revenge. He noticed Juefan's cold eye behind, his intent to chase, though the wind blades had to be addressed first. He'll have to choose between getting wounded and chasing me or defending himself. Second Elder's soul regained his confidence, finding the time to monologue. "You haven't seen the last of me, brat." "Oh, but I have." Juefan smirked and fixed his eyes on that red flicker flying away as his right eye shone golden. Divine Eye of the Void's second stage. Void annihilation. Whoosh! Second Elder was struck by something invisible, piercing his soul and tearing him apart from the inside. He was gone before he could even announce the agony. He was in the red flicker, was gone from this world. Second Elder's dead. Thanks to having formed his soul, void annihilation affected the metaphysic as well. Soul included Joafan's pearly white smirk, was chilling to the core rip. The sounds came from his surroundings as the wind blades found their target. They tore his clothes and were just a hair's breadth from striking his body with Second Elder, taking his focus. He had no time to spare the attacks any attention before they were upon him. Second Elder's death came as a great surprise for Seventh Elder. Of joy, he used this tactic to attack while the kid was busy with Second Elder, so there'd be no way to cope with two sides coming at once. Yet the brat was so vicious, he forewent the sneak attack and went to deal with Second Elder for good, though in this way left himself open for the soul wind blades. No matter how tough he was, it was bound to hurt him good. Second Elder, die knowing you helped me get revenge for you. A bit too soon to celebrate, however, since Joafan was still alive. He wasn't about to let the guy have his way, or the great steward would be ridiculed to no end. Joafan spoke. Bloodblade. Hum. The sharp wind blades, and their sharp ringing, stabbed him with pain. But then a red light came from his body and crushed the wind blades before they touched him. It then sped straight for Seventh Elder with impunity. What the hell is that? The old man was startled by it and sent another wind blade, yet it just kept coming. It entered his body and made him shiver as blood leaked from his mouth. This isn't a soul form, just a radiant stage soul attack. He never knew such an insidious soul attack existed, so strong it matched his soul form. What kind of monster is this kid? Seventh Elder was racked with fear. Joafan was an abomination, shrouded in a thick fog of mystery. Everything he got from Joafan, till now, only scratched the surface, and he bet it was all bait to lure the fools and conceited idiots. Seventh Elder shook at the sight of Joafan and ran. Second Elder got done in like nothing, even in the third layer of the ethereal stage. He stood no chance only in the second layer without any preamble. Seventh Elder threw away his dignity and bolted. All to save his life. It always paid to live and die another day. He understood this saying the best, especially now, caring about nothing but fleeing. Didn't he just see Second Elder monologuing in his flight, only to get cut short? Respect mattered, sure, but even that paled in favor of keeping one's poor little life. So he ran, though Joafan was even faster. Whoosh. Joafan was barring him in a flash, thanks to a nifty little golden halo in his eye. Ha! Seventh Elder, are we fighting? Why are you running away? Joafan grinned and struck his chest. Seventh Elder put up a tough front. Joafan, you dare kill an intersect elder? I got the sex rule on my side. Killing you is nothing, so take it like a man. Besides, I already killed one, so what's one more? Joafan sent another ghostly dragon claw to splatter him on the ground. Seventh Elder learned from Second Elder's misfortune and knew resistance was futile, so he abandoned his vessel as the attack came. He used his meat suit as a shield to fly away unharmed in soul form. Chapter 596, Pep Talk. Chapter 596, Pep Talk. Bam! While Seventh Elder was fleeing, he smacked into something out of the blue. It was a bloody infant, though the creepy aura and the faded body made him shiver. What the hell is this? Seventh Elder sent dozens of blue wind blades. In response, a fierce whirlwind formed, one that could rip a soul apart, and it shot for the blood infant. Blood infant's only reaction was contempt. Hi. With a burst of creepy laughter, Blood infant glared back at the incoming attack. A sharp blood ripple shot forth and crushed the wind blades like they were nothing. Seventh Elder's blue soul shook. This is the thing that helped Joafan last time. But what is this thing? How precious must it be to unleash soul attacks? The kid has many tricks up his sleeve. Seventh Elder got nowhere in figuring it out as the blood infant charged for him. Blood infant was as fast as lightning. Swallowing him under the shocked eyes of everyone, he scrambled around Blood infant's stomach to get out. But each time he made the skin bulge, it would just return to normal. Blood infant was a spirit of this world and capable of unimaginable things. Seventh Elder was now in it, and even as a soul, he had no way out. It was just like a soul prison. The audience was freaked out. Some of these demonic cultivators reared their own demonic creatures. but they were all physical beings and unable to harm one soul. But Zhuofan's blood infant showed them how mystical demonic creatures could be, and what gave him confidence, it was like having an able partner all the time. With both him and the demonic creature unleashing deadly attacks, this display earned everyone's envy. Just how many gadgets is this guy hiding? How is it he keeps taking out greater and greater things? With a freak like him, the only thing he'd come with is freak demonic creatures. Whoosh! Blood Infant flew back to Zhuofan, and like a good hunting dog, it spat out seventh Elder Soul before going to Zhuofan. Zhuofan grabbed the blue glow and snickered. Run! Run as fast as you can. That's why I let my demonic creature out earlier, to intercept you. So, did you get far, even after ditching your body? Steward Zhua, please let me go. I will never come at you again. Ha ha ha. I'm sure you won't. Seventh Elder was at his mercy, and he could do nothing but beg. Though not like it worked on Zhuofan at the kid's killer smile, Seventh Elder resorted to threats. Do this, and you'll make an enemy of the inner sect. Enemy? Humph, you're sadly mistaken. It's you who made an enemy of me. He paraded the soul before the labor office's people. This is our turf, and this old coot is threatening me with that. Tell me, are we pushovers? No, no, no. Venerable Chi and Bai shouted, taken by the mood, as all the resentment dripped off them. The entire labor office roared with one purpose, one mind. This was their steward, Steward Zhua of the labor office, a disciple with more testicular fortitude than anyone, killing elders and anyone in his path. This is a hero to follow. The oldies from the inner sect alternated from blue and green, about to flip against Zhuofan. But the sight of the entire labor office roaring had them threaten Zhuofan's victory, brought back the dignity and glory the labor office lost. Attacking now, when morale was high, was suicide, to say nothing of the devious Zhuofan playing by the rules, or more like making sure the rules were on his side. All they could do was walk away in silence. Engulfed in the flood of shouts coming from the labor office, the outer and inner disciples were stumped. The labor office was like a dead fish just now. Yet Steward Zhua injected them with courage with just one when they watched Zhuofan in awe at how he flounced Seventh Elder's soul around. A mocking smile on his lips. It was one image they wouldn't soon forget. Zhuofan faced the soul again. Seventh Elder, what do you think? Is the inner sect reliable? Ha ha ha, all of us are selfish. The labor office now has enough people to stand up to you all. None of them would stand up to fight for you either. Do you know why? They fear me. Today I challenged you and killed you, and tomorrow I will go for them. I am just a laborer and the rules are on my side. Tell me something. Do you think they'll accept my challenge? Zhuofan's smile turned sinister. Ha ha ha. You two were fated to die to make a statement. Now those fools won't be so jumpy. Inner Sect Elder is just an empty title. It won't protect you at all. Once it loses its worth, you'll be thrown away. The blue wisp shuddered and fell in abject despair. Inner Sect Elders were respected, but that applied only when alive. They lost everything the instant they died at the end of it all. The only one reliable was yourself, unable to understand this simple truth. These two were sent to the slaughter. Not that anyone foresaw this apology banquet would turn bloody, or that a fresh radiant stage laborer would kill them like lambs. Demon transformation art. At the downcast blue wisp, Zhuofan knew Seventh Elder had lost all motivation. Zhuofan enveloped the wisp in black energy and refined him. It was then the prismatic heaven dragon in his mind opened its dazzling eyes by forming his soul. Zhuofan could use demon transformation art on souls to increase his own. It would speed up his cultivation a lot, easing a breath. Zhuofan watched his empty palm and revealed a grin. He turned to the labor office's people. Are you still down now? They all shook their heads, bearing excitement on their faces. Ha ha ha. You're on my side. Your loss is my loss, and I am one who will get back at them for it. Zhuofan nodded. The people looked at Zhuofan with starry eyes. However, Zhuofan changed tunes. You're weak. You just got challenged once, and look at you, crying all over like children. I've decided that all laborers shall do what a laborer does, sweep and clean. Don't think about running, not even the ones from the elite labor office. For God's sake, You got too cocky after just a few days and forgot who you really are. The disciples were startled, but their smiles still remained. Venerable Bai's group chuckled. An expert should know when to retreat, lose, and win. They wouldn't achieve anything losing their heart after one setback, especially now when some of them wanted to leave the labor office. It had to be removed and not let it fester. Zhuofan had them learn humility and determination, to not break in the face of adversity. Though it only worked after Zhuofan's pep talk, no one would have listened to him before his win. Not even the elite labor office. The Venerable saw the inner and outer disciples watching the thrilled laborers and smiled. Zhuofan has great charm and is meant to do great things. He will become the next sect leader. Chapter 597, Worth. Chapter 597, Worth. What are you all staring at? You saw them ask for it, even after I went to such lengths to apologize. I even had their well-being in mind when I challenged them to not get the sex punishment. How is it my fault they were too weak and died off? I've done it by the book and in an open manner, so glare elsewhere. Zhuofan noticed the stink eyes he got from the intersex oldies and shouted, "Keep this up, and I'll challenge you." Whoosh! The threat worked like a charm, and all those malevolent glares lost their target. They all saw what Zhuofan could do. And from the looks of it, he had it easy. Just now Zhuofan didn't even get to take his soul out to play, giving them no way of guessing his limits. The unknown held the greatest fear, especially when a soul showed its true power when it came out. So no one was about to mess with a freak that left two elders as nothing but smears on the ground, though. It didn't save them from resentment, so damn strong. Yet only a freaking laborer is outrageous. One just had to look at him the wrong way, and he'd smash them dead. It was the least this law-abiding disciple could do to uphold the rules. Hey, that rule about challenging a superior, holding no consequence for both parties, shouldn't be left gathering dust. There will be tough times ahead of us. These oldies conflicts were all handled within reason. Now, this freak showed up, and he was just a mere disciple whom no one wanted to do anything with. It was a guillotine hanging over them, waiting to drop they side. It was the intersex turn now to be humiliated, to be pissed on, and no way to be able to deal with it. The labor office looked at them with scorn, and even the outer and inner disciples had contempt. The labor office is still the best by the looks of it. The intersect is off its game. Whoosh! Zhuofan landed, and Kuei Lang's group came over with glee. "Steward Zhua, you're so strong. You're truly the best disciple in the sect to even swat ethereal stage experts like flies." Kuei Lang gave a thumbs up. The others bobbed their heads. Zhuofan dissed them with a smile. "First, cut the ass-kissing. I saw your long faces before. Did you actually think I'd apologize for their fault?" "Ugh." They all sheepishly scratched their heads. "Ha ha ha. Steward Zhua, since he didn't tell us. You'd have let it slip." Zhuofan cut Kuei Lang off. "This great scheme of mine was all psychological. To make those two take the bait, I had to unbalance them. It worked to allow challenging and weakening them easier. Consumed by anger, I bet they didn't even give half of what they could do. You think it's that easy to kill an elder once his soul is out? Playing mind games is the best solution." The swift shift from glee to anger to grief did them in. "Thanks to you, I had them reach the highlight of their happiness, setting the stage for me to come in and smack them down to earth and fall for my ploy. Demons come from the heart. Always remember this." "Yes." The four bowed. Kuei, who was still frowning behind them. "Steward Zhua, you should know why I've come to the labor office. Where am I to begin training my heart? It was first Chi-Feng that told me I was weak because of my weak heart. Then you come and tell me one grows weaker as their heart's in chaos. How then? I'll tell you here and now. The heart isn't trained, but tempered." Zhuofan's tone was serious. Zhuofan saw his doubt. The heart isn't cultivation, using spiritual energy to train your soul and body. All its levels come from insight and experiences. Without experience, there will be only ignorance and no way to come to gain insight into the world. That is the meaning of enlightenment. The world is filled with people going through a wide range of experiences, which makes everyone's hearts different. Does that mean I'll never be able to train it? Kuei, who didn't want to give up. Zhuofan pondered. "I'll be honest with you. I never cared much for you. So never mention this little secret. You are the product of your environment. The same applies to your heart. Following wise people will give you insight, but how much depends on you. You should stick closer to Elder Yuan instead. What could a bone-tempering old coot possibly do? Guehu was stumped. Zhuofan's finger moved left and right. Ignorant fool. Elder Yuan is a man with a vast wealth of experiences. He is wise and thoughtful. Here I am going to him many times to debate the world's meanings, and you're just taking him for granted. Learn to appreciate things. Besides, do you really take him at face value? Humph. The only reason I'm kind enough to explain his worth is that you're on our side and did so much for the labor office. Guehu tried to blink the confusion away without avail. The one thing he did get, the old man is more than he seems for even such a great talent to speak of him like that. Senior brother Guehu, the old guy is quite nice. Go to him. Kuei Lang spoke. Guehu asked, how do you know? Because nothing he says makes sense to me. Guehu's face fell. That makes him more of a wise guy than a wise man. How is that logical? Though Kuei Lang made him exclaim, though Steward Zhua can understand it. That's why I think we're far from the level of these two. Guehu gave solemn nod. Master told him Zhuofan's heart was in high places, and since Elder Yuan came at his recommendation, while Kuei Lang bearing witness, the old guy ought to have some use. He might have something that can help me with my heart problem. Guehu ran for the labor office. Steward Zhua and everyone. See you later. The others chuckled, and Zhuofan laughed. This guy's so simple, quite like elderly. I knew ages ago he wasn't cut out to be a spy, yet I still watched him all this time. I still have a long way to go to reach the fourth stage of human nature, or I'd have seen through his worth at a glance. I'll need to get more experience under me. Ha ha. Don't be modest. More experience? Any more, and you'll become a demon. Fiend Yang laughed, coming over with the other fiends. Gone was his grumbling, hearing Zhuofan messed up the elite area and was now beaming with joy. Sonny, you're a tough one. Facing two elders alone and still killing them. Becoming an elite and joining the Double Dragon Gathering will definitely get us among the middle three sections. Your feats will become legends. Fiend Yang patted his shoulder, though Zhuofan's face was cold. Sorry, I don't do well with being elite. How can? Fiend Yang was stumped. What are you playing at? This fight alone sets your status in the sect. Now no one will object to you entering the elite area, yet you refuse? Isn't this the whole reason why Wu Yue brought you? Zhuofan smiled. Xia Wu Yue had me over for Double Dragon Gathering, not to be an elite. How else are you supposed to participate? The elite area's sole purpose is to rear disciples for the Double Dragon Gathering. Then you'll just have to change the rules. The disciples going to Double Dragon Gathering will only be from the elite labor office. None of the others will come from the elite area. Zhuofan shouted his conviction. Everyone was baffled by him. Zhuofan scratched his nose. When all is said and done, it was the elite area that taunted us, even if instigated. I've said that I'll take back the labor office's glory, and I will. First was the inner sect, and now all that's left is the elite area. Didn't you all say we're not worthy of becoming elites? Fine then. To join the Double Dragon Gathering, you'll just have to come to us and do menial tasks. Though it's up to me to see if you're worthy of being a laborer. How can you say that? We didn't say anything like that. Why should we pay the price for those two brats' crimes? And aren't they dead already? Fiend Yang advised, Zhuofan, your amazing talent has us on your side, but learn when to back down. I need to be tough since it concerns my disciples' dignity. Zhuofan said, tell Xia Wu Yue, if he accepts, I'll join Double Dragon Gathering. And if he refuses, I'll just stay here as the laborer's steward. The fiends' faces fell while Kuei Lang's side was awed. He's the best manager the labor office has ever seen, going as far as to talk back to the powers that be for them. That's why those 4 scheming demons follow him. It's not just their interest in him, but his worth too. Chapter 598, Worth. Chapter 598, Worth. The trio turned apprehensive, not wanting to accept Zhuofan's request, yet unable to refuse. Zhuofan was an irrefutable participant in the Double Dragon Gathering. It was his worth none of them could ever replace Steward Zhua, Congratulations. This time the entire sect will hum with your name. I bet tomorrow we'll be busy for the labor office with its new recruits. Ha ha ha. Even becoming elite will be a cinch. None of those inner sect oldies will make a peep. Venerable by praised Venerable Chi said, I bet there's no one else like you in the 9 sects to kill 2 ethereal stage elders as a disciple. You've topped them all. The disciples must be worshiping you by now, their role model. They'll all want to get closer to you. We had to work hard to get those that left back, so they wouldn't offend you. The other oldies of the labor office nodded. All a smile, Zhuo Fan gave a thin smile back, turning to the fiends. As I said, I won't enter the elite area, though venerable sirs can do what they think about my conditions. Zhuo Fan grinned, spun on his heel, and walked away, not before flipping a nasty smirk back a few steps after. By the way, your elite disciples are in a world of pain, you know. Shouldn't you be hurrying back? What? They all cried out in shock. Noticing Zhuo Fan's gaze, oh shoot. They forgot the kid burst into the elite area, and there was no way he'd take it easy on anyone. Venerable Chi and Bai's grandchildren were still there. As well, everyone was anxious. Steward Zhuo, were you that hard on them? The two were even more concerned than the fiends, but they also grew nervous at the prospects. While no one liked those leeches, they were the strongest disciples of the sect meant to go to Double Dragon gathering. Zhuo Fan just shrugged. Ha ha ha. Lighten up. I'm not one to get rid of anyone I do not know, or I'd be making too many enemies for nothing. They're not too easy either, or they could have just gotten up and reported me. Whoosh. Venerable Bai and Chi shot for the skies in panic, followed by other venerables and elders with kin in the elite area. On the other hand, the fiends eased a breath the minute Zhuo Fan assured them they were still breathing. Fiend Yang, eyed Zhuo Fan. We will consider your condition. The rules the sect has been built upon for thousands of years aren't changed overnight. No matter how great a display you pull, some rules just won't bend. Ha ha. People make the rules, and they will change as long as the people want them to. Zhuo Fan threw a box with a snicker. Venerable Fiend Yang, take this to Xie Wuyue with the words of favor for a favor. If he can't do it, return it. Fiend Yang's face twitched. This is plain bribery. Is it that bad? Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow. With you at the top of the sect, you have priority in taking your pick from the pile of wealth. Who can ever bribe you? You finally have me, the magnate, here to get a little something at long last. If you don't want it, then return the earlier demonic treasures as well. Take the elite labor office as the enemy of the elite area. I don't need peace. Now wait a sec. These matters aren't the same. You beat our disciples and apologized. That ends that. The fiends glanced at their storage ring and the trinkets they got and didn't quite feel like giving them up. Rethinking Zhuo Fan's proposal and the demonic treasure within this new box, it was part of Zhuo Fan and Xie Wuyue's agreement to annex the elite area and make the labor office the only faction, though it didn't come with outright acceptance from the three. When he fought the intersect, they didn't give a hoot no matter how many burned or how many fell, since the cream of both parties would end up in the elite area. Now, Zhuo Fan wanted the elite area abolished, aiming for their bread and butter. No matter how much they cared for the sect's future and liked Zhuo Fan as a talent, no one would be that happy to throw away their livelihood. We're digging our own grave. Should we just take these treasures for ourselves and leave Wuyue to decide? The trio pondered a good while, then nodded with a sneaky smile. They not only came out one treasure richer, but they also had a way out. We're not as selfish as the inner sect to block the sect's growth. We will leave it to sect leader to be fair and just in his ruling, to avoid despicable methods such as bribery. Zhuo Fan grinned. Sugarcoat it with as many excuses you want. It's still selfishness. You need but take this single step, and you'll be falling in the inner sect's footsteps. I held my end of the bargain, and it's up to him to decide what to do with you when you stole his gift. The trio shuddered and faltered, covering the fear with anger. Are you a mind reader? Ha ha, of course not. All I see is your greedy eyes, oblivious to anything else. Zhuo Fan added, no gain satisfies a greedy mind. One wrong move, and death awaits. It's best you think this through, sirs. Ha ha ha. Zhuo Fan left with a laugh. The trio lost at what to do and looking from the box to themselves. Are we just going to give this to Xia Wuyue and dig our elite area's grave? While they were at an impasse as to what to do, a mile out, Xia Wuyue saw everything. The kid just entered the radiant stage and already formed his soul. So strong, too. An abomination. Since I last saw him in Tianyu a decade ago, he has become a new man in character and strength. But this will only make the demon-scheming sex rise come faster. He's a true gem. Xia Wuyue was full of praise for him, but scowled as he eyed the three fiends of hell. Don't tell me the fools are going to take Shuo Fan's respectful gift from me for themselves. I even came over to see if the kid could handle the elders, lest everything would go to waste. You better be damn sure you three bring me that gift, or else. Xia Wuyue squinted before leaving Venerable Bai's gang stepped into the devastation around the elite area, and the disciples were strewn about. Each of the oldies found their target and breathed easier the next second. They're only hurt. If they died, with how savage Steward Zhua is, the sect will run with blood. Lianer, Chanlong, Grandpa, we're here. As Bai and Qi called out, Bai Lian and Qi Chanlong replied. The two went over and breathed easier too. Inner organs are shaken up and only seal vessels. You'll be back on your feet in a few days. The kid was truthful. He only killed Qi Feng and Yu Zhuan. Bai Lian hugged Bai Lian. Venerable Qi nodded. Old Bai, should we have these two go to him? He has to know his allies, or the next time he flips. With his glorious reputation now, making friends is the best thing for these children. Venerable Bai's eyes flashed. Bai Lian asked, Grandpa, you mean that wild beast? The Venerables nodded. Venerable sirs, he wrecked the elite area and breached the rules. You should uphold the sect's laws and not let him off. Lu Xie was outraged. 2 elites are killed, and the 3 Venerables won't stand for it. Venerable Sure will surely make use of it and fight. Sirs will do well not to make the wrong choice. Venerable Bai laughed. What a foolish disciple. What do you think the rules are for? To raise the strong. With enough worth and strength, the sect itself will pave your way. As for the 3 Venerables, they must be grinning right about now from the demonic treasures they got from the kid. As for Venerable Sure, his 2 prized helpers, the 2nd and 7th elders, were challenged and killed by the kid. In plain sight, too. There's not even the chance of getting revenge. With the inner sects, elders, and Venerables cowering, who will stir up more trouble? No way. Bai Lian, Lu Xie, and Qi Changlong gasped in disbelief. Venerable Bai shook his head. Disciples all the same, yet so much above everyone else. He twisted the rules to his will, and there's nothing you can do about it. His worth trumps anyone else's. You better sit down if you know what's good for you. The 3 were speechless. Chapter 599, Pave the Way. Chapter 599, Pave the Way. Venerable Sure, this is horrible. Venerable Sure enjoyed some fine wine under a pavilion, a smile tracing his lips as his plans came to a head. That was until the shout ruined his mood. Grand Elder scrambled over in a panic. Venerable Sure dissed him. Grand Elder, you've been through a lot at your age, yet a trifle riles you up? Trifle? Taken aback, Grand Elder asked, You know, Venerable Sure. Venerable Sure grinned in pride. I planned for it. Ugh, Grand Elder stammered. You had those 2 go to their deaths? Grand Elder, how can you still not understand? Venerable Sure raised an eyebrow at his dumbstruck face. Think about it. The 2nd and 7th elders went to make a mess of things in the labor office. I bet the place must be in turmoil right about now. But it's all fine with how loose they are. Giving them some incentive will have most of them back with us. We'll then use the excuse of disturbing the sect to crush the elite labor office for good. Since they held the apology banquet, the chaos ensuing will be on them. Grand Elder nodded. Oh, that's what Sir means. Isn't that why you're here? Venerable Sure sipped his wine. Grand Elder scratched his nose. These matters are different, yet surprisingly the same. How come? The 2 elders did make a scene at the banquet per your orders. Grand Elder began. Venerable Sure nodded all naturally, and Grand Elder softly continued, though they ended up killed. Bang! The wine cup slipped and scattered to pieces on the floor. Venerable Sure turned an incredulous eye to Grand Elder. Grand Elder. See, can you repeat that? I said the two elders ended up getting killed at the banquet. Grand Elders repeated, disillusioned Venerable Sure. How? Who had the gall to do such a thing? No Venerable has such a right. A Venerable would have been much better, at least would give us an excuse. But Grand Elder shook his head in sorrow. The one to do the deed was a disciple, in plain sight too. He used the rules to challenge and kill them, so that we can't touch him. Venerable Sure trembled like a leaf. A disciple? Who is it? Who can kill ethereal stage elders? Since when did our sect have such a disciple? Who else but Fan? Grand Elder shrugged as he explained everything. Venerable Sure slumped in his chair. A bloody feast. It was premeditated, a trap all along. There's no such thing as apologizing in advance. This was done with full intent of the crime. In regards to this, Fan planned on killing the two from the start, but he did it flawlessly. Grand Elder sighed. He first went to challenge the elite area using the same rule that states in a duel between different statuses there are no repercussions. No matter how much damage he caused, it'll be those three venerables dealing with it, not us. But Fan soothed them as well. Then the kid challenged the elders, and under the eyes of everyone, they died, all for nothing too. We can't use this to get to him. Venerable Sure's face sank in rage. That devious punk played us. But that pales when he has the power to threaten us. He even killed two ethereal stage elders to prove it. This never happened in the history of the sect. It will make him the single most important figure in the sect. And with the double dragon gathering on our doorstep, he'll have the sect at his whim. He is a great genius that might even get us in the middle three sects at the double dragon gathering. Grand Elder sighed. Venerable Sure's eyes glinted. What's the point if it's not on our side? We'll only suffer for it. Then, Grand Elder probed Dang. The meeting bell answered for him, and Grand Elder's words were drawn out. It's the inner sect meeting. The sect leader must have called for it. Who the hell else is there that would have the gall to mess with me and strike the bell? Venerable Sure felt more and more suffocated. Siawiyue saw his dog got some awe under him and wants to promote the punk for it. He wants to send him to the elite area. What do we do? Grand Elder asked. Venerable Sure's side. Nothing. By killing our two elders, he established his worth and might. Now even some elders and venerables from the inner sect see hope for the sect in him. The brat has earned great merit and advancement is imminent. All we can do is bide our time. Grand Elder's brow shook. Venerable Sure spat. I know Siawiyue like the back of my hand. He's uplifting Fan for the Double Dragon gathering. But once it passes, Fan's talent will threaten his status. We just have to wait for when they'll be at odds in each other's throat, while we will be laying low until they do. Grand Elder pondered and nodded with glinting eyes. An hour later, in the Grand Hall, Siawiyue was on his throne bearing a majestic vibe. With the elders and venerables on either side of him, even three fiends of hell were among them. The sour, Venerable Sure looked at Siawiyue's wide grin, laughing in the end. Something amazing happened today, the new replacing the old. A disciple challenged two inner sect elders, a testament to the promising new generations, to the demon-scheming sect's great new future and glory. The oldies' faces twitched on cue. We just had two of our elders killed in cold blood, and you call that an achievement? It's brazen humiliation, is what this is. While the labor office's oldies were smugger than ever, joining in sect leader's joy, Siawiyue saw Venerable Sure was still brooding and continued. Now all of you know of Fan's might, and I can assume there'll be no objections in having him participate in Double Dragon Gathering. Will there? No. The labor office's side echoed and the inner sect remained silent, their eyes converging on Venerable Sure, yet Venerable Sure was like a stone. Fan doesn't want to be elite while requesting for the Double Dragon Gathering's participants to be from the labor office. That is the only condition for joining the gathering. Siawiyue eyed Venerable Sure in doubt. The entire hall exploded with noise. The labor office's side supported Fan, of course. While the inner sect was totally against its sect leader, it's against every rule. Sect leader, the brat is conceited and should rein him in instead of indulging him. Sect leader, the rules are clear and must be upheld. They all voiced their strong objections to this outrageous proposal enough. Venerable Shur sneered, and the hall was silent. Venerable Shur's eyes flashed. The rules have always been made to pave the way for the strong. Since it was Zhuo Fan's request, I agree. No way. Everyone was slack-jawed, Xie Wuyue included. Was the old weasel up to this time? Chapter 600, Relocating. Chapter 600, Relocating. Silent as the grave. Did Venerable Shur wake up on the wrong side of the bed today? Why is he on Zhuo Fan's side? Allies and enemies alike were stunned. Watching the old-timer, as a cow looked at a new gate, have I said something wrong? Venerable Shur smiled at the rest. Only a blind man can't see Zhuo Fan's talent. He is the best chance our sect has in Double Dragon Gathering. We have to remove all obstacles for him to join it, including this quaint rule. Ugh. The stunned silence persisted for a good while. Wuyue had to blink again and again to gain some semblance of reasoning back. Venerable Shur is quite right. I agree. The Double Dragon Gathering's candidates shall be chosen from the elite labor office, with Zhuo Fan in charge. The inner, outer, and elite areas are to cooperate. That is good and all, but we guide the elite area's disciples for the Double Dragon Gathering. With how the candidates are chosen from the elite labor office, do we still hold our posts? Fiend Yang asked, having received Zhuo Fan's good-natured gifts. They never opposed such a decision, and Xie Wuyue had planned for the kid to be the team leader from the start. All the more, since Zhuo Fan had such a wild reputation in everyone's side. No matter what ruckus he stirred, it'd be swept under the rug. He even got the right to choose his teammates. All this old fiend could do was fall in line. As long as there was no conflict of interest or principles, Xie Wuyue would be behind him all the way. This was the power of bribes. Why else would a sect leader accommodate some guy by even changing the rules? All rules were, at the end, made by the strong for the strong. Xie Wuyue scratched his nose. The kid can take you in, and it'll be all the same. Having the three of you in the labor office where there are already so many more venerables won't harm it. The trio shrugged. The day had come that these venerable coaches had to balk at the whims of a disciple. It never happened in the history of the demon-scheming sect. Not once while the inner sect's oldies' hearts jumped. No matter how godlike Zhuo Fan was, he was still a disciple. With such authority behind him, he could even affect the other oldies' fate. That was a bitter pill to swallow, though a glance at Venerable Shur told them they had nothing to worry about and sighed in the end if their boss was silent. All they could do was follow the decision came to pass, and, after ironing in some more details, the meeting came to a close. How times have changed. The lowest rung of a sect, a mere labor office, has now become its center, even above the elite area. Yet those rotten laborers are still sweeping the disciples and mine lodgings. What's so hard to accept? That side had sported a sudden monkey that even challenged the elite area. The entire sect sees him as the apple of their eye, even fonder than their ancestors. And all to regain the sect's dignity and interests in Double Dragon Gathering. I reckon you'd be flaunting him by now if he was your disciple. When all is said and done, might makes right. The elders and venerables gossiped in groups of 3 or 5, grumbling and complaining as they left the hall, left alone with Venerable Shur. Xie Wu turned a quizzical eye at the old man. Did the world flip, Venerable Shur, to take my side? Ha. Sect leader, you jest. When have I ever gone against you? I only ever argue for the good of the sect. I hope sect leader is kind enough to overlook my past transgressions. Zhuo Fan is beyond anything anyone could expect, earning the public's favor. I only hope he can take her sect higher. Venerable Shur bowed. Xie Wuyue eyed him with the complete skepticism his position came bearing. Venerable Shur chuckled. If that is all, sect leader, I shall take my leave. Xie Wuyue had never said anything all this time, but the old man turned just as he was about to cross the door with a crafty smile. Sect leader, you were right about one thing. The new replaces the old, but his drive may be too strong. Today he has the sect change the rules for him. Tomorrow, he'd have a certain someone's chair What's that supposed to mean? Siavua, roared Venerable Shur grinned. Just the ramblings of an old man, sect leader. Venerable Shur left laughing with another bow. With the new replacing the new, I wonder just how far it will go. How decrepit will the old become? Ha ha ha. Damn geezer. This chapter is updated by FreeWeb. Oh, vel cm sia wiu spat, his knuckles white. The more he thought about it, the more he saw Zhua Fan's power within the sect taking root. His speed was too fast even for this sect master's comfort. The decision spread to the entire sect, leaving inner and outer disciples dumbstruck. The elite labor office had only been a lure so far for a shift in power in the sect, yet its status was still in the lowest rung. The only reason disciples forewent its bad name was because of free stuff, yet it hadn't been long since it formed. It had already stood above the elite area, holding the right to judge Double Dragon Gatherings candidates. It meant there was no getting into the elite labor office. Without strength any longer, only the best of the best entered the elite area. But now that the elite labor office had authority, the entrance would be all the harsher. The chances were next to nothing, the ever spectating. Inner and outer disciples were now hating their guts for the previous indecision of joining the elite labor office. It took just a couple of months for the lame elite labor office to become all the rage, while laborers grew cockier and more confident, especially when the three coaching venerables led a gaggle of elites to join elite labor office after passing Zhua Fan's strict testing. If they were any more stuck up, their heads would reach their ass. It was they who used to resort to any means to get into the elite area, but lo and behold how the tables had turned, with the elites turned to do the same thing, and all of this came to be by the grace of one laborer, Steward Zhua Fan. The manager of the elite labor office. His popularity spiked then and there to the point of being worshipped. But while the labor office was enjoying the high life, the inner and outer disciples were down in the dumps all because of Zhua Fan's order. Even elite laborers are to sweep the floors. The entire sect couldn't afford a mess with him. Bam. A vase crumbled to pieces as it made intimate contact with the hard cold floor. Kuei Lang picked up the broom and swept the remains while looking sullen at a corner. Your vase. That's a high-class china worth a hefty sum. The youth cried. Kuei Lang barked. What's a damn cultivator wasting spirit stones on these damn decorations? You've soured my mood. Now get out and let me clean. Oh no, no, no. Senior brother Kuei Lang, this is my fault. I could never have you. Shut it. Steward Zhua gave us a job, and we're to sweep the sect clean. Are you trying to make me slack on the job and get punished? Scram. Kuei Lang glared. The youth ran like the wind, though just outside the door. Watching in anxiety and nervousness, the room ended up eliciting a wondrous symphony of sounds, from the dullest to the sharpest, in under 15 minutes. Kuei Lang strutted out with the broom in tow. Now it's spotless. I'll leave the rest to you. Thank you so much, senior brother. The youth bowed, and Kuei Lang left with a puffed-up chest. The youth went in to watch a horror show. The table was only good for tinder now, and the walls sported extra-large breathing holes. This is not sweeping, but demolition. Thinking about how he'd get his room cleaned every day brought a dark cloud over his face. The guy was on the verge of tears. Is there no presentable labor out there? Well, the good ones were sent to the oldies, while the best of the best, the elite laborers, went to inner and outer disciples' homes. Having never done this, they tended to put too much oomph into it, resulting in this wonderful work of art, yet unique every time, though the demolition men knew full well no inner and outer disciple would dare make a peek as they went to work. Since the elite labor office was the cream of the crop in the sect, everyone was dying to join. No matter how they grumbled, they couldn't even fight back. Not when it would only get them killed. Laborers had the sect rules at their back, yet the power of elites. It was so ridiculous that not even oldies messed around. I will definitely get in the labor office tomorrow. The youth couldn't take it anymore, but then recalled his meager strength and sighed. With so many vying to get in, the labor office now hold a test to take in only the best. Chapter 601, Demon Soul Sex Visit. Chapter 601, Demon Soul Sex Visit. The hazy rays of the morning sun shone upon a small little courtyard. The imposing and immovable figure stood upright like a statue. The only change happening was his shadow. Shrinking as the sun rose, he had been standing there for 7 days, unmoving and silent. His thick, brutal aura kept anyone at bay, sending them shivering. A faint tune wafted over as some small-time elder passed over. The statue's ears twitched, and his eyelid trembled, turning his head. "Well, Elder Yuan, you're back." The statue wanted nothing else but to spew curses, but thought better of it. Opting for a respectful reply, Elder Yuan started, then grinned, skipping over, Sergei, who? What would you need of me?" Guei, who frowned, lost for words. Zhou Fan and Kuei Lang did say this guy was more than it seemed, but he just couldn't figure out how. The old man was just that, old and average. He had always been subservient and flattering like any other nobody, and made it all the harder for the grand top intersect disciple to bend a knee and ask for help. Zhou Fan's words of respect for the old coot rang in his mind once again, and his discomfort faded. Throwing his little pride away meant nothing when Zhou Fan got off his high horse to debate with this guy Guei, who stammered at long last. "Elder Yuan, Steward had sent me for advice in the way of the heart. Please enlighten me." Guei, who flushed in an instant, dying of embarrassment for speaking like a 3-year-old. Elder Yuan raised an eyebrow, then smiled. "Ha ha ha, very well done to have overcome your hubris in talking to little old me. This act alone marks great progress in your near future. Being next to Zhou Fan for so long does have its perks." How come his mood changed? Guei, who was dumbstruck, seeing the old Yuan losing his ingratiating air of a nobody and gaining an air of mystery. His eyes were so deep that Guei, who felt like he was sinking into a bottomless well. Who the hell is this guy? What's with the labor office hiding so many freaks? Guei, whose heart jumped. Elder Yuan's imposing aura left him feeling a majestic air that not even his master or venerable Shur could unleash. Ha. Guei, who? Come, I shall impart to you the way of the world. Elder Yuan smiled as he walked deeper into the labor office. Guei, who was right behind him. Elder Yuan stopped before an ant mound. Seeing those busy little critters carrying food, he said, "How would you go about killing these ants?" Guei, who was baffled. "With a stomp, how else?" "Ha, right you are. These little creatures can die just from that. Try it." Elder Yuan held his beard with a vague smile. Guei, who did as he was told despite the increasing doubt about where this was going. When he lifted his foot, he saw tens of ants dead, but some crawled back up still, going about their way. Elder Yuan shook his head. "See that? Someone slipped through. This is your current state, having power but no means to use it, making fighting even someone in the radiant stage like you a challenge. You've had your way and intersect all this time, not because you're strong, but because there was no real expert around. You will see that Double Dragon Gathering will have only people with a firm heart, especially those from the middle and superior 3 sections. Being pushed, they'll be sure to push back harder." Guei, who was flustered, urging Elder Yuan, "What should I do?" We come back to the same question. How to kill the ants. Elder Yuan leaned over and picked an ant. "Your kick was casual because you took these ants for nothing. What if you were dying of hunger and these ants were the only thing around?" Elder Yuan, I'm a radiant stage. I don't get. Guei, who blinked. Elder Yuan shook his head. How thick-headed. I was only making an analogy. Or you can also take it as being a child and hungry. How would you have dealt with these ants? Guei, who stared at the scurrying little bugs, and his eyes turned red. Yes, that's right. You'll eat them all, or you'll die. Elder Yuan nodded, releasing a bloodthirst so thick it left Guei, who shivering. Feeling icy water dumped over him, he turned a dumbstruck, looked to Elder Yuan, putting that ant in his mouth and swallowing, but the shocking bloodthirst continued, and doubt came then. Who is this man? Elder Yuan held his beard with a smile. See, even when dealing with an ant, you must give your all or starve. You must find your own reason to kill, or you'll never give your all in killing anything. Heaven is cruel to all living things, yet also fair. Thus demonic and righteous paths coexist. The righteous love life, and the demonic pursue slaughter. But killing must be done for life to give it meaning, or slaughtering all in your path would end up consumed by it. erring from the right path. To pursue the path, one must become demonic. That is the only way. Tell me, when you killed any disciple you came upon, was that your true strength? You do not even know what that even is. You've seen Fan, his simple yet precise strikes. They all were meant to kill. Guay, who shuddered and respect, painted his always stern face for this old guy. Go, be a laborer like Fan said, and it will help your heart grow. Youth is arrogance. It is something every one of you has, and that goes double for talents. But the road is filled with twists and turns, and sometimes it pays to show restraint. When you learn to do it like Fan, you'll have made progress. It will be of great help to you in future cultivation. Elder Yuan, said Guay, who gave a deep bow, and left as leaving was followed by clap clap. Ha ha ha. Elder Yuan's words ring true and home as always. It's the first time I heard you need to be demonic to thread the right path. I'll have to analyze it further. Elder Yuan smiled, then shook his head. Stewardjua, now don't make fun of these old bones. You're much better at it than me. How kind of you, Elder Yuan. I only wish to have a night chat with you. As Guay, who waited 7 days for you, so have I. It happens to be a wait in vain. It's best if you return. Elder Yuan shook his head. Fan raised an eyebrow. What purpose does this serve? That's my line. When did you get on Demon Soul Sect's bad side? They're at our door and asking for you. Elder Yuan shrugged. Fan said, Third young Master Han. Him too, but someone else as well. His second brother, second young Master Han, is here to challenge the elite area. But that should be no problem to you. Elder Yuan nodded. Fan mumbled, He's after my labors? What man would come to poke in your labor office's affairs? Those sect leader had the labor office clean up the ring. It is your duty, but if you won't go, it'll have to be one of the elites. Fan rolled his eyes and cursed as he left. Xia Wuyue is forcing my hand. They came for the elite area, so why the hell are you dragging the labor office into this? It's not my fault. He's the sect leader paying attention to the sect's reputation. As the manager of the labor office, that's something you don't have to worry about. Elder Yuan chuckled. Chapter 602, Ghost Chasing Shadow. Chapter 602, Ghost Chasing Shadow. Bam! A youth got flung through the air in the Great Hall before hitting the ground with a crunch. Xia Wuyue, and the rest watched in cold silence while the disciples felt their legs shaking. You call this an elite, demon, scheming sect? They can't take one hit. The old man with black hair sat in the guest seat with a cold eye, and a snicker. The youth next to him bore the same condescending look. Third brother, are you sure he was from the demon, scheming sect? Beyond a shadow of a doubt. Second brother. I heard those little shits even calling him Stewardjua. A vicious youth in the center of the hall shouted, Where the hell is that punk? Stop hiding like a coward and fight my second brother. Venerable Shur held his nose. Elder Mo, you may be from a middle 3 sect, but that's no reason to force yourself in. I told you once, and I'll say it again. This is a sect, not a clan to have stewards. Why don't you pick from our extensive range of elders and venerables? We came here for my disciples' spar and to promote our sect's friendship. How is that possible between elders? Some will take it as an act of war instead. All the elders and venerables there turned glum, with Xia Wuyue giving him a withering gaze. The Demon Soul sect might have status over them, but they were one of Tianyu's 3 guardian sects, not some thug they can intimidate. Xia Wuyue barked at the trembling disciples. What are you standing around for? And get in already. You're elites for crying out loud. Act like it. Lose, and it's your life on the line. The disciples felt like crying, oh, the humanity. What elites when the labor office stole all the good ones? We got nothing to fight Demon Soul Sect's third young master with. With how third young Master Han wiped the floor with them, there was no way even if they took turns they could beat second young Master Han. Third young Master Han sported a mocking smile. So these are the peak talents Demon Scheming Sect has to offer. No wonder you were so lame in the last Double Dragon gathering. I alone might even win it the next time around. Haha. Xia Wuyue's anger reached a boiling point. Last Double Dragon gathering was the greatest pain for him, and now a damn punk was picking his scars. Elder Mo and second young Master Han only sneered. You think you got what it takes to challenge the whole elite area? 3 people in rough clothes and holding a broom walked in. Chi Chong Long was in front. With Bai Lian and Lu Xie at his sides, they were the best of the elite area, yet had to do menial tasks all the same after turning to the elite labor office. That included the work attire and tools. Third young Master Han turned a skeptical eye over, finding them to be nothing more than a sex nobodies that butted in his affairs. What was odd was how the elite area's other disciples here relaxed at their coming. Senior Brother Chi, you're here. Any later, and we be goners. Yeah, they're just too savage, always going for the kill. The elite area's disciples complained in anger and fear. Chi Chong Long grew enraged, while the third young Master Han was dumbstruck. The hell? Why are young masters pleading with beggars for help? What is demon scheming sect playing at? A single look at the slumped junior brother had Chi Chong Long grasped the situation. The opponent was tough to even dispatch a 6th-layer Radiant Stage expert in one blow. He turned to third young Master Han and found him in the 8th layer and shouted, "I've long since wanted to meet you, third young Master Han, if you would." "Who?" Third young Master Han squinted and said, "9th layer Radiant Stage? What is your name?" "Labor Office's Chi Chong Long." He snorted. Third young Master Han turned to Elder Mo. "Labor, since when do laborers achieve such cultivation?" Demon scheming sect has no respect for talent to throw him into labor. But noticing the other two were of the same cultivation, he fell silent. Is that why the demon scheming sect always came last? Because it ruins its talents? Not that he cared. Since they came to die, he was most accommodating. Third young Master Han snickered. 9th layer Radiant Stage, this should be fun. Not that having 1 layer over me will be any damn good. You'll see soon enough. Chi Chong Long attacked. Third young Master Han replied with a palm strike. Bam. The two palms met, and third young Master Han trembled at his spot. Chi Chong Long had to stagger 10 feet back. How could this be? Chi Chong Long was incredulous. How am I the weaker one when I'm above him in cultivation? Third young Master Han mocked. Oh, I saw all right. While a layer above me, your meridians are smaller than mine, all because of treatment. Do you have any idea how many pills I had to eat? And I started small too. How about you? Did you get any even? This is the gap between our sect. And with the coming of Double Dragon Gathering, we'll only get farther ahead. There's no way a lower 3 sect will ever topple a middle 3 sect. All of the demon scheming sect trembled in rage. Third young Master Han saw the hard and stubborn faces of the trio and grinned. Don't believe me? Then come at me, all of you. That should bring you down to earth. You asked for it, so don't come crying when you lose. Chi Chong Long knew he was the weaker one from that exchange, and agreed. Third young Master Han snickered. You 3 aren't enough, even for a warm-up. Bastard. Chi Chong Long snapped, and the trio shot for him. They exploded with power and unleashed devastating attacks that made all other elites hopeful. There's no way third young Master Han can take the combined attack of all of them. Second young Master Han and Elder Mo were calm as ever. Third young Master Han even smirked. Fetid flood, meteor shower, earth shatter, green, white, and yellow shone ever brighter, combining and bearing down on third young Master Han. His reply was to shimmer black and make a sign. Quasi-Earth ranked martial art, ghost chasing shadow. Eerie black figures loomed around third young Master Han, wailing and shrieking as they lunged for the trio's attack. The 3 were sent flying, yet the shadows pressed the advantage. Grabbing their heads, it was their turn to howl in pain from the agony. Third young Master Han grinned in pride. He wants to crush their souls. Venerable by cried out in worry. Venerable Chi was the same. Elder Mo saw them and chuckled in a most annoying way. Should elders and venerable be interfering in a disciple's fight? Or does the demon scheming sect not understand this most basic rule? Sect leader. The 2 venerables pleaded to Xia Weiwei with their eyes, but he was silent. He took the sect's reputation above anyone's fate. Even the disciples, the venerables, were in pain, seeing their kin about to lose their souls. Their nails cut into their palms and drew blood. The more demonic the sect, the more strict the rules. Any violation would be met with swift demise. No one would save their kin now, not when both choices meant death all the same. Chapter 603, Encroachment. Chapter 603, Encroachment. Who? A strong wind blew just then, scattering the shadows from creeping any deeper into the three souls, and it kept going, still forcing third young Master Han on the defensive boom. The crushing force pushed him dozens of meters back, leaving cracked tiles in his wake when he did stop. His feet were knee-deep in the floor. Who did that? Third young Master Han broke into a cold sweat, lowering his trembling arms to see second young Master Han. An elder Mo frowned, their gazes fixed on the thin youth coming in bearing a cold face and a broom, and by the feel of him, he was just a fresh radiant stage disciple. Third young Master Han was in shock, turning to his brother. His second brother, that's him. You got nerve, kid, coming here again. Was last time not enough for you? Zhuo Fan spared him a single glance before tending the trio. You aren't dead yet, now scram. A laborer's only job is to sweep, not be a pain in the ass seeking the limelight. What's their challenge on the elite area got to do with us? Zhuo Fan had no restraint, but at least the trio was saved. They rubbed their aching heads and gave Zhuo Fan a nod and a look of dread to third young Master Han. Before leaving, without complaint, they knew all too well they were just too weak. Even in a 3-on-1 exchange, venerable chi and by breath easier, Zhuo Fan spun on his heel and was already walking away. You think you could just come in here and leave after interfering? And who are you? An elder or venerable of the demon scheming sect? Zhuo Fan threw over his shoulder at the youth resembling third young Master Han. Second young Master Han mocked. I am Demon Soul Sect's second young Master Han. I heard the demon scheming sect had a presentable disciple and came to be enlightened. May I be honored to know your name? Demon scheming sect's labor office's Hancho, Zhuo Fan. But everyone calls me Steward Zhuo. Swishing the broom, Zhuo Fan scoffed. Since you're no elder of mine, I don't have time to waste on you. I got work to do, bye. Hold it right there. Is this how you treat an honored guest? Second young Master Han shouted again at the gross lack of disrespect. Zhuo Fan's mouth worked as he walked. An honored guest needs honored elders and venerables to look after. What are you doing, going after this little old labor for? We're here to sweep the floors, not tend to guests. It's not in our job description. Sect leader Xia, didn't you say I can challenge anyone in the sect? Second young Master Han turned to Xia Wuyue. Seeing he was talking to a wall, Xia Wuyue gave a mocking nod. As long as you want to, second young master. Oh, I will. With red eyes and a sneer, second young Master Han jumped, ready to strike with his 2 fingers. Zhuo Fan, let's see you get away now. Pseudo-Earth ranked martial art, underworld blade. Whoosh! An eerie energy shot from those fingers for Zhuo Fan's head. The air shimmered as it passed, releasing creepy howls and sucking the warmth out of the hall. Venerable sure cried. Demon Soul Sect's patron art, the mystical soul art, underworld blade. I hear low ethereal stage experts will die all the same from a peak radiant stage cultivator using this art. It's an art focused on killing. Xia Wuyue frowned and sighed. The Han clan's 3 young masters are all true talents. A shame the second one had to meet such a monster. All the oldies snickered alongside Elder Mo, had full confidence in second young Master Han, but soon found the demon scheming sect's higher-ups were sporting grins. You're telling me an attack to kill an ethereal stage expert isn't enough to crush a radiant stage cultivator? Not like anyone told him. Zhuo Fan, just a few days back, killed 2 elders like nothing. Second young Master Han could only kill early ones too, making the whole of demon scheming sect's echelon find him sorely lacking. As the blade came for Zhuo Fan's head, he brushed with his broom behind him. Roar! The draconic roar crushed the blade like a hammer, smashing a needle, and then went for second young Master Han himself. The young master got flung way up high and left a trail of blood in his wake, though. He gnashed his teeth to bear through the pain as his body shook all over. Second young master, Elder Mo started. Second young Master Han signaled him back, watching the smug sweeper with shock and fear. Third young Master Han got his trembling feet under him and sported the same look of dread as his brother. Is he even human? How can a fresh, radiant stage cultivator take down second brother in a single strike? Body strength aside, is his soul that freakish too? How are we supposed to compete with such perfection? The added mockery of Zhuo Fan only amplified the fear. Zhuo Fan snickered. Now the hall is clean. Don't make it dirty. Second young Master Han was outraged, but he was choking on blood and couldn't retort. Zhuo Fan sported the same condescending smile as he left with a snort. Xiao Yue was overjoyed. Never had he been made to look so good. Elder Mo, sorry, he's just too rude. That's why I left him in the labor office. I hope you can forgive the offense. Oh, so sect leader Xia is in the hobby of demoting strong disciples. Elder Mo snorted. Are you going to have them join the Double Dragon gathering? What do you think? Xiao smirked. Elder Mo nodded with a small bow. Then we shall disturb you no further, and we'll meet again at Double Dragon gathering. Farewell. Farewell. Xiao Yue showed him the door. Elder Mo flicked his sleeve and took his disciples. The oldies cracked up when they were gone. Ha ha ha, look at them. They're in middle 3 sects, yet never saw them so wretched. Don't get too happy. There's still no pushovers. Xiao Yue sneered. They came to probe us. Zhuo Fan must have messed with third young Master Han, and they came to assess the threat. They just accomplished their objective. Won't that mean we're exposed? Venerable by frowned. Xiao Yue waved his hand. Such a flimsy cover wouldn't have lasted anyway. It's best to reveal it spectacularly like today. To tell them my sect aims for a middle 3 sect position. Brilliant, sect leader. The elders bowed. A disciple burst in shouting. Beast-taming sects, elders and disciples request an audience. Beast-taming sect now. The elders looked baffled. What is with today? Sect encroachment. Xiao Yue mocked. Just another scouting party. Last time we took 3 of their elders in Tianyu, so they want to do us in at the Double Dragon gathering. What's there to fear of another lower 3 sect like us? One elder cursed. Just 6 with fan on them, and that's that. Fool. Xiao Yue showed a nasty smile. We need to show off to the middle 3 sects so that they don't kick us around. But for the lower 3 sects, the secret weapon, Zhuo Fan, is not to be divulged. They'll bite more than they can chew when he shows himself in the Double Dragon gathering. They all exclaimed and admired him. Brilliant. Chapter 604. Target, Middle 3 Sect. Chapter 604. Target, Middle 3 Sect. Bam! A figure in fine clothes and bright colors got flung out of the hall with a bang again. Blood flowed, and the body banged up and rolled 3 times on the ground. Yes, but he was still alive. At least what faced him was a buff man in gray robes with a snickering look sent at the rest of the disciples around. Is demon scheming sect's elite area that's short-handed to have only your waists? The disciples watched the 8th layer radiant stage thug with anger. But the sight of sect leader's cold face had them bury it deep, for crying out loud. The elite area isn't short-handed. It's that damn labor office taking everyone good from us. First was third young Master Han, and now this cocky bastard. The only reason you're still standing is because the sect leader doesn't let us get Zhuo Fan, or even Qi Changlong could waste you, you pompous prick. Regardless of their thoughts, Xiao Yue's glare let them know not to do that. A grizzled old man looked smug. Sect leader Xia, I hear the elite area has many fine geniuses. How come I don't see them? Elder Lu is too kind. What you see here is all my sect has in terms of elites for your disciple to spar with. Are you not satisfied? Xiao Yue faked anger. The old guy admitted. Sure you're not hiding some? My great sect has nothing to hide. Or is Elder Lu doubting my words? Xiao slammed the table. The elder's eyes darted to and fro, then nodded. Ha ha ha. With sect leader Xia's prestige, such a lie is beneath you. I of course believe you. Xiao Yue spoke with a dark face. Then I shall no longer disturb you. Please forgive my presumptuous tone. Elder Lu eyed Xiao Yue one last time as he bowed and left. He said to the thug on his way, Hui Xiong, let's go. We best not overstay our welcome. Thank you, sect leader Xia, for accommodating us and the sparring. Thank you, sect leader Xia, for reading these punching bags. While useless, they did get me worked up. You've been far too kind. Hui Xiong cupped his hand with a snicker. Xie Wuyue's face was ghastly, though no word slipped. Elder Lu grinned, throwing more biting remarks. Hui Xiong, that's no way to treat sect leader Xie. You can't be so blunt about it, no matter how true it is. They're going to fight in the Double Dragon Gathering and hold some flimsy hope still. Good. Bye. Having enough theatrics for one day, Xie Yue, shouted Elder Lu, waved dismissively as he left with his grinning disciple. They just cut the corner, and Xie Yue in the hall showed a devious grin. A bunch of ignorant fools. We'll see who laughs last at the Double Dragon Gathering. The oldies joined him in rambunctious laughter. They were dying to see Zhua Fan wiping that ridiculous grin off their faces, preferably with blood. That got them giddy haha. A mile off, demon scheming sect. Second young Master Han spat blood again, his face blanching. Second brother, I told you we should have asked big brother, but you just wanted to show off. Now look at what became of you. Both of us suffered from the same prick. Third young Master Han lamented his brother's fate. Second young Master Han glared. Quit it. How was I supposed to know that nobody lower 3 sect would have such a sicko? Based on his strength, no one in the Radiant stage can take him on. Our only hope against him lies with the eldest young master in the ethereal stage. Elder Mo's eyes flashed. At least we made some use of this time, probing demon scheming sect. It's definitely aiming for middle 3 sect status. We have to keep our own position at all costs, come what may. The Han brothers nodded. 2 figures walked over. Master, now we can rest easy. The demon scheming sect has nothing but punching bags. I'll run through them in the Double Dragon Gathering to pay them back for the humiliation in Chanyu. I'll make them stay in the lower 3 sects forever. What brash talk. We, Demon Soul Sect, are stressed out from that freak, and you want to run him through? Will you a superior 3 sect? The Han brothers turned glum, and Elder Mo flashed before the 2 figures peeked. Who's there? Elder Lu and Hui Xiong jerked back, startled at the figure's eerie vibe. A demonic cultivator? I come from Demon Soul Sect. Elder Mo nodded. Who are you? And did you come from the Demon Scheming Sect? Elder Lu rushed to reply. I am but an elder in the Beast Taming Sect. Here is Hui Xiong. As you said, we come from the Demon Scheming Sect. Why did you go there? Elder, I took my disciple to spar. Spar. Elder Mo sized Hui Xiong up and found him only in the 8th layer Radiant stage. Period. Nothing else special. Did it go that easy? Master and disciple shared a most egotistical grin, if the elder ever saw one. Hui Xiong even puffed up his chest in absolute pride. Demon Scheming Sect is nothing. In less than 10 moves, I'll wipe the floor with them. The Demon Scheming Sect is not worth the trouble in the Double Dragon Gathering. Our real opponent is Mystical Heaven Sect. Everyone, in 10 moves? You? Second young Master Han glared. I ended up sucking pavement from 1 hit, and you think you can take that guy on? Third young Master Han was puzzled. Is this guy an even freakier monster? And asked, which disciples did you defeat? The strongest, the elites. Hui Xiong stuck out his chest harder. If possible, the Han brothers found one profound truth in his words. Did you meet any laborer? Labor? Whatever for? What do the lowest of the low have to match my greatness? Hui Xiong snorted. The trio shared a knowing smile. They're the fools, all right. Oh, what's wrong? Elder Lu bowed. Elder Mo deflected. Nothing at all. Just thinking how such a genius from the Beast Taming Sect dealt with all elites from the Demon Scheming Sect. You truly are worthy of becoming the best among the lower 3 sects in the Double Dragon Gathering. Naturally, among the lower 3 sects, we are the best. Hui Xiong hit his chest, feeling more pride swelling in his bloated head. Elder Mo's side laughed harder. Hui Xiong took it as if they were laughing with him, while Elder Lu found it off. Why does it sound condescending? Elder Mo gave a wave, and they left, leaving the other elder stumped with his disciple. Third young Master Han mocked. Those 2 are the biggest idiots I've ever seen. The Demon Scheming Sect left nothing out. They will suffer the most in the Double Dragon Gathering. Xie Wuyue played them like a fiddle. No one will ever expect the strongest disciple of the Demon Scheming Sect to be coming from their lowest rung. The only reason we didn't fall for it as well is because of forcing them to call Zhua Fan over. The more reserved Xia Wuyue is, the more it shows his great ambition for the Double Dragon Gathering. Elder Mo scratched his beard and thought the Han brothers nodded. The demon's scheming sect's aim was clear, the middle 3 sect position, and the one to fall would be the lowest in the middle 3 sects. Chapter 605, Double Dragon Gathering. Chapter 605, Double Dragon Gathering. Who? In a quaint room, Zhuo Fan sat on his stone bed with his eyes closed and a raging azure flame on his forehead. Deep in his mind, a prismatic dragon with the same azure flame on its forehead rested with its eyes closed, its majestic figure brimming with more power with every flicker of the flame hum. Zhuo Fan flashed his eyes open and shook all over as his aura exploded. The dragon soul did the same and roared, the azure flame covering it and turning the dragon into a flaming dragon, spreading the flames in every corner of his mind roar. Zhuo Fan howled at the heavens for a full 15 minutes. Zhuo Fan took a deep breath and took a feel of his boosted power. 3 months was all it took to reach the second layer. Training the soul with azure flame is way faster than any cultivation method out there. And with azure flame and dragon soul combined, his soul achieved perfection, making his soul attacks even deadlier. Steward Zhuo, may these old bones come in? An aged voice had Zhuo Fan quick an eyebrow. Venerable Bai, please. A flick of the hand had the array torn down, and with a point, the crude wooden door opened. Venerable Bai smiled, and his eyes brightened at his advance with a cup of his hands. Ha! Congratulations, Steward Zhuo. Oh my, you're moving up in the world in just 3 months. Steward Zhuo is a true gem in this cultivation world. So many so-called geniuses would be dying of envy. You're too kind, Venerable Bai. I'm just putting a little bit more effort than the rest. I always tell these youngsters my success came from slow and steady progress, devoted day and night to one goal. But all they want are my pills. Such feisty children. Zhuo Fan shook his head. Venerable Bai's cheek twitched at his touch of the dramatic, good frickin' actor. The world is saturated with those going at it harder than you. But do you see any other freak around? While having talent is innate, it gives you no right dangling before others. Zhuo Fan smiled. Venerable Bai, to what do I owe this visit? Why aren't you speaking? Why do you think so? Venerable Bai shook his head. Steward, sect leader, and the 3 coaching venerables have asked for you. But with you being in seclusion, they haven't disturbed you. Judging from the sound the array gave, they figured you advanced and sent word. Oh, thank you for waiting for me, Venerable Bai. Zhuo Fan bowed most respectfully. Venerable Bai smiled. It's my duty. Why does sect leader need me? Well, Venerable Bai gathered his thoughts. Sect leader and the coaching venerables are asking, so it must be related to Double Dragon Gathering. Zhuo Fan nodded. Xia Wuyue treated the event with such importance. He never told him anything for him to ask about my situation. He must be ready to set off. Zhuo Fan squinted, leaving Venerable Bai. Zhuo Fan went for the hall to find Xia Wuyue, and the fiends waiting. Xia Wuyue smiled. Finally showed up? What can I say? I needed a few days to enter the second layer of the Radiant stage. Zhuo Fan shrugged. Xia Wuyue nodded. I know that. Venerable Bai told me. Why else do you think you're not punished for denying my summons? Zhuo Fan remained silent, taking a random seat. Xia Wuyue's face sank. The prick still has no respect after all this time. Not even for me. Let's calm down, he still has his uses. Xia Wuyue gnashed his teeth. Fiend Yang laughed. Zhuo Fan, you're advancing so fast, a true talent. We aren't ones to nitpick slights from such geniuses. Rules are made for the strong, after all. Right, Wuyue? You're one to talk, having the same attitude decades ago. I thought I told you it's sect leader. Xia Wuyue glared. Fiend Yang chuckled. Xia Wuyue went down to business. Zhuo Fan, Double Dragon Gathering is just around the corner, and there are some things you should know about it. Figures much. Zhuo Fan nodded. Fiend Yang continued. Zhuo Fan, to talk about Double Dragon Gathering, we need to start with the world situation. Have you ever heard of a sacred spirit stone mine? I have one on my finger. However, he was curious how the mortal domain even heard of sacred mine. But to avoid suspicion, what is that? Ha ha! Coming from a backward place like Tianyu, of course you'd not know. The four chuckled, with Fiend Yang explaining, Sacred Spirit Stone Mine is the place where an even greater spiritual energy gathers, greater than any spirit stone can hold. The mining is harsh, but it has great applications and arrays, soon making it the target of every sect and empire on these lands. And this world has 5. You're serious? Zhua Fan gasped. Sacred spirit mines made sacred stones, a rarity even in the sacred domain, such that every grand clan monopolized them, to the point not even a demonic emperor like him could get one. Yet here he was in the mortal domain with 5 of them. Wonder if the clans there would be invading it en masse at the news. Though it got him thinking from another angle. For the land to give birth to sacred mines, it had to have thick spiritual energy. Why was the mortal domains so thin instead? While the 4 had an even greater reaction to his reaction. Didn't he just say he doesn't know? Why so jumpy? Zhua Fan gave a strained laugh. For the sacred spirit mine to be so precious, it must be quite rare. Yet there are 5 of them? 1 can hardly be divided, while 5 makes it even easier. Zhua Fan, you know, fool. You call 5 mines for the entire world many? Zhua Fan eyed him. Plus, sacred spirit mines are in a different class from common spirit mines. A spirit mine assists one's cultivation, and even without it, a cultivator can just take the spiritual energy from the air. He can go anywhere with a bit of talent. While a sacred spirit mine assists your cultivation and improves your constitution, it's the best ingredient to grow experts. That's what makes it invaluable. Why else do you think middle 3 sects and superior 3 sects are so powerful? Zhua Fan turned solemn. They use sacred stones for cultivation. Right you are. This is the basis behind Double Dragon Gathering. Fiend Yang nodded. The 5 mines are split between eastern lands, western lands, southern lands, northern lands, and central area. To defend their sacred mine, each area's power formed a union. We belong to the 10-sect alliance of the western lands, with Double Dragon Manor as our head. While it might be like a sect, it is not, because it has no disciples. It is more of a group formed of strong people, our strongest force in western lands. They guard the mine against any invaders. To raise the power of western lands, Double Dragon Gathering hold a Double Dragon Gathering every 3 centuries, selecting the best seeds to groom in the Double Dragon Gathering. See how you have picked up? However, they do not take these disciples for themselves, returning them after a decade or 2. But even a decade under their teachings and sacred stone cultivation will earn 1 more progress than simple cultivating for centuries. It will be of great benefit for the future, while the chosen disciples' sect will be greatly rewarded as well. Zhua Fan's eyes jumped. The sole purpose of Double Dragon Gathering is to protect western lands, to prepare for war, while the 9 sects, to raise themselves, participated in it, wishing their disciples were chosen, raised for free into experts, while also earning a big profit for themselves that explains their almost fanatic desire for growth. No one knew more about sacred stones than him. Take a plain OL spiritual gathering array and supply it with sacred stone, and you'd have a sect with the same environment as those in the sacred domain. To raise dozens of talents who could possibly resist the allure, certainly no man, and without a doubt no sect. Chapter 606, Set Off. Chapter 606, Set Off. If it's just to raise experts, why aren't the sacred mines divided among the sects and give everyone share? Zhua Fan asked. Won't it make defending western lands easier? The 4 had bitter smiles, with Fiend Yang sighing. I wish it were that easy. The mines are oddities of nature to such a degree that it makes mining them hard and slow, and that is only at the fringe. Not even the strongest man in these lands can pierce that tough wall. It forces us to wait for a few centuries before we can mine just a bit of it. Someone planted it. Zhua Fan nodded. Be it your average spirit mine or sacred mine, all had their quintessence focused in the center. And the crucial part of these 5 sacred mines was behind a barrier someone placed beforehand, leaving the sacred stones outside of it for the others. In other words, the sacred mines have an owner, no native of the mortal domain, that's for sure. Zhua Fan understood everything. I see what makes Double Dragon gatherings so important. When do we set off? In a week, Xie Wu said. You have 7 days to pick your team from among the disciples to fight in the Double Dragon gathering for our sect. The higher you rank, the more we will earn. I hope, with your strength, that the demon-scheming sect will become a middle 3 sect. Zhuo Fan nodded. We're going alone. The fiends will take you. Just 3 venerables? Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow at the trio. Aren't we the future of the sect? Fiend Yang shrugged and laughed. Zhuo Fan, leave it to us. Every sect does the same, sending a couple venerables at most. Not even sect leaders can come, afraid too many experts join and affect the meeting. This is a rule of Double Dragon Manor. Oh, Zhuo Fan nodded. This way at least the disciples can fight to their heart's content. Too many old coots glaring at you from the side will only put bigger pressure on the disciples. How can one conduct a normal match when you have to mind some old guy's thirst for revenge? Double Dragon Manor's rule made perfect sense. You're free to go. You'll be going in a week. Xie Wuyue waved him off. The 3 fiends of hell bowed and left. Zhuo Fan was doing the same, but paused. Xie Wuyue, we need to talk. That sect leader. Xie Wuyue's face twitched, but all he could do was sigh. What is it then? Zhuo Fan said flatly. Sect leader, our agreement was to enter the demon-scheming sect in exchange for the 9th grade pill. I have done my part and only left Double Dragon gathering to finish. Afterward, I want to know if you'll return my freedom. What's so bad about the demon-scheming sect that you want to leave? You're practically a star here and may even go higher in ranks sooner or later at the peak of your career. Even my position isn't out of your reach. Patting his throne, Xie snickered. Zhuo Fan shook his head. Home is where your heart is. Without some sort of promise from sect leader, my mind will be affected and will harm my performance at Double Dragon Gathering. You're threatening me? Xie Wuyue scoffed, though only giving a stink eye. Fine. Since you don't like it here, I won't force you to stay. You can go to the Luo clan, but make damn sure few people are going to Double Dragon Manor. Everyone will laugh if you leave, and I'll have no successor. Zhuo Fan was in a tight spot. You saw it yourself. The top 3 elites are no match against 3rd young Master Han, even combined. While I alone can deal with middle 3 sex people, getting the others in Double Dragon Manor. Is that a no? Xie Wuyue mocked. Then why are you wasting time talking to me? Once you leave, I'll be left with weaklings. Even if we get to be a middle 3 sect, are these disciples supposed to be representing us? To be blunt, your strength is worth shit. If you can't take those brats along, don't ever think about leaving. You'll stay here leading. Ugh. Zhuo Fan jerked, and Xie Wuyue grinned. Is that too hard, perchance? Didn't you raise Yuer and Kuei gang quite fast? The 2 kids are good, yes, but it was done with resolve, harshness, and peril. Those wastrels won't. Zhuo Fan's eyes darted everywhere. Well, bro, give me the word. The kind of word that'll threaten the oldies' power, just how one might kill their grandkids. Eyeing him, Xie Wuyue snickered. I know where you're going. Fine, you have free rein. Just make sure those brats don't drag you down. Xie Wuyue threw him a jade. Token Zhuo Fan saw the Xie character on it. That is my symbol of authority containing a trace of my soul. Every elder and venerable of the sect will treat any holder of it as me. The fate of the sect is at your whims. Holy shit, why the hell didn't you give me earlier? This bauble would have saved me heaps of time. Zhuo Fan giggled. Xie Wuyue shook his head. When you just arrived, you had nothing to your name and would only cause more trouble with the elders and venerables. While now you have strength and renown. And with this, they will respect you more. While some might fight it, they can't do much against my authority. If you had used this from a start to piss them off, Venerable sure would have used it as an excuse to get to me. Oh, wise and brilliant sect leader, I shall be going now. With this baby here, I'll put those brats in their place. Zhuo Fan had a positively killer grin as he left, unaware of the cold eye Xie Wuyue had as he watched him go. Zhuo Fan, you're growing beyond my expectations. Perhaps it would be for the best if you leave after Double Dragon Gathering. On the morrow, Zhuo Fan called for the coaching venerables and picked the disciples for Double Dragon Gathering. Chi Changlong's group of 3, the strongest elites, was the obvious choice. The rest came from the labor office. Gui Hu, Tai Ying, Yu Ling, and Kuei Lang. Yuer and Kuei Gang came as well with some other presentable disciples. The sex barrier cracked open, and Zhuo Fan took a deep breath as he stepped outside. After so many years, the rest were excited to see the great outdoors as well. They finally got to sightsee after being stuck in the sect for most of their lives. The fiends had bitter smiles. Hey, Zhuo Fan, sect leader gave you a week to decide. Aren't you rushing things too soon? Fiend Yang worried. Zhuo Fan shrugged. What's wrong with now? I know their strength, and I've already made up my mind about who comes or stays. Fiend Yang nodded glumly, pointing at Kuei Gang and Yuer. I get the others, but why are these fresh radiant stage disciples needing demonic treasures to fight opponents along as well? They're my disciples. I'm only bringing them to see the world. Ugh. The fiends' faces twitched at Zhuo Fan, finding logical explanations for everything. Dude, you're too pig-headed. We're going to fight to the death with other sects, yet you're bringing along your disciples for some sightseeing? Were you tourists? Kuei Gang and Yuer chuckled. They knew by now Zhuo Fan's character. He'd do whatever he wanted, and whenever. I won't have it. I'm telling sect leader about this. This is not a joke. Fiend Yang flicked his sleeve, turning to rat him out. Zhuo Fan revealed the token and its pressure on the 3. Sect leader's token. Go ahead and say your piece. To it or him is the same thing. Zhuo Fan dangled the token. You know what this thing does, no? So go back and report if you want. Humph. While I'll report your defiance for authority. See whose head will fall first. The 3 fiends' faces sank and lamented on the inside. Xiaoyue, why did you give it to him? What kind of venerables would they be if they had to listen to Zhuo Fan now? Chapter 607, Zombie Pill. Chapter 607, Zombie Pill. The girls there giggled, seeing the grand coaching venerables of the elite area so deflated. Some of the usually tough guys there trembled, and even the 3 ex-elites found it hard to stop laughing. What are you laughing at? We're discussing important matters here. Fiend Yang glared at the lot, though it had the opposite effect. The fiends felt utterly stripped of respect. Zhuo Fan chuckled along, chiding. You think sect leader's token's a joke? Go ahead and laugh it up. Any more disrespect out of you, and you'll be crying next. Come, have a pill to lift your spirits. Zhuo Fan presented a vial with a soothing smell as everyone came over, and their faces brightened. Master, another 7th grade pill? Kuei Gang cheered, turning to the others in pride. See that? Stick with Master, and you'll have nothing to worry about. I've taken more pills these days than the last decade, and not one of them was below 7th grade. The rest were excited, having gone to the labor office, which was being prepped for Double Dragon Gathering. They came to know what true heaven on earth was. It used to be only the elite area having such privilege, making inner and outer sects feel like hell, gulping it down. Everyone looked smug. The fiends were red in the face and jittery. Coming over, they poked his shoulder. What's this? Give us some too, and we won't tell on you. Nope, none for you. Zhuo Fan had a vague smile. Fiend Yang was getting more annoyed by the second. Zhuo Fan, where's that generous bribing style you used on sect leader gone too? You now have the prime opportunity to give us one as well. We're venerables, for crying out loud. You're missing the point. The fact is, Zhuo Fan's trademark evil smile was back in business. If you take it, who'll protect them? I certainly can't. Protect. The scream came from Kuei Gang. His face froze, his body shivered, and his movement looked robotic, accompanied by trembling. Only his eyes moved freely, and his tongue sun. What? Ugh. Kuei Lang was the next victim. Feeling his own body, not listening to his commands, soon came everyone's turn, everyone going to Double Dragon Gathering. Crying and freezing on the spot, the venerables jerked in fright, turning to the culprit. Zhuo Fan, what is going on? Zhuo Fan beamed, dangling the empty vial. This is no mere 7th grade pill, but a poison. Everyone had the same dumbfounded look. Zombie pill. It would stiffen your body and turn you to stone a month later. You're not serious. The poor saps were panicking, with Kuei Gang crying. Master, why? Didn't I tell you? One must be intent on killing, but never without his guard up. Why does no one listen to their master? Whoever told you a master will only give you nice things? Fan sneered. Their faces sank. Looking at Fan like kicked puppies, he had such a homey look too. To invite them deeper into the trap, of course, compared to the glares they got from the venerables, Steward Jua's insidious nature was much worse. Sharing poison with a smile, and they even thanked him for it. There were no dumber fools out there. That was for sure. Fiend Yang grabbed Fan's chest. Why did you do it? Who will go to Double Dragon Gathering with them dead? Are you going to fight by yourself? Fan dangled the token with utmost seriousness. Double Dragon Gathering is fraught with perils. You know that. Going as there will only increase their chance of dying. It's best to have them die here at my hand instead. You call that logic? Can't we live a day longer? All had bitter looks in their eyes, though it is not without hope. The zombie pill made you stiff and sapped your cultivation, but all you have to do is keep moving to delay the process. Hold on till Double Dragon Gathering, and I'll cure you. As for the rest, tough luck. Fan snickered. See this token? Sect leader appointed me as his representative. Your death will be for nothing and your big connections wasted. No one will touch me, and I can do anything. You might as well give up begging now. I won't bat an eye even if you all die. Demon. They were all distressed and heartbroken while the fiends were stumped. If Fan gave them a more deadly poison, they wouldn't let this one slide and might even take him from another sect spy. By using slow-acting poison, Fan was given a lesson, albeit cruel. Fan sent a warning to the three. They're like newborns and will need your constant monitoring. The trio nodded. Fan ran over to the other side and slapped his big perky, but I'll be waiting for you a mile out. Do your best not to die just as you got out of the sect. Ha ha ha. He was gone the next second, leaving red tomatoes behind, gnashing their teeth as they made a jerky step forward. It was like having the whole world on their shoulders, moving at snail pace, but nothing compared to the rage. Steward Jua, you'll have another thing coming if you think we'll just drop dead. Tough talk for sure, but their body hardened so much that they only moved 1 meter in 15 minutes. The venerables felt like crying. I get that you want to train them, but couldn't you have picked a faster method? Even infants stumbled around faster than them. Just when are we supposed to get there in decades? Fan was chilling in his spot, though. He fed them the zombie pill to petrify their flesh and force them into overcoming their limits. Once overcoming it, they'd move, then stiffen again, and would have to go further still on, and on it went, toughening their bodies and veins in months that would take decades for others. Fan thought of giving a shot as well. Though it came with a biggie, he needed a guardian angel in this moment of weakness in their states. Being weaker than an infant would get them to drop dead from anything. He, a lone operator, had no way of taking the same route. Meanwhile, the other sects got ready for Double Dragon Gathering. The back mountain of Mystical Heaven sect was a towering hunk of rock, covered in biting winds and eternal snow. It was here a woman walked at leisure with a white sword toward the cave. She bowed. Senior sister, I am going to Double Dragon Gathering. Thank you for everything you have done for me in the past few years. The wind fluttered her dress, the snow pricking her cheeks. The time for Double Dragon Gathering came at long last. I wonder if you will come as well. A sigh came from the cave. Ching Chung, you represent me by wielding permafrost. Can I ask something of you? Anything, senior sister. Ching Chung bowed. Another sigh followed. If you meet any from the demon scheming sect, please go easy on them. I'd hate to see him hurt from my blade, although the blade is now with you. He brought me to this state, yet also made me let go of all regrets. A pleasant voice came. Chapter 608. Every Sect's Actions. Chapter 608. Every Sect's Actions. Bang! In a damp and dark hall, lit only by a few torches on the sides, the shrieks of specters sent chills on one spine. In the center of it all sat a table, 2 meters long and 1 meter wide, shaking and creaking as a middle-aged man slammed hard. Say that again. You just got trashed around by mere labor? The buff man stared at the trio. This is an outrage, an insult. Third young Master Han and second young Master Han's eyes met, but it was the former who spoke. Father, Labor Fan is far more than he seems. I even doubt if there's anyone that can oppose him among his peers. Sect leader, I can attest to this, having bore witness to second young master's crushing defeat. Elder Mo bowed. The big man flicked his sleeve and roared. All I'm hearing are excuses. You lost, and not just to anyone, but a lower 3 sex disciple. You threw away all my honor. Tell me, son, how should you be dealt with? I trust father's judgment. Second young master Han lowered his pained face. The hard man said, since you can't take a single hit, that makes one of your hands useless. Should I relieve you of it? Father, please, don't make second brother handicapped. Third young master Han was nervous. The man eyed him with an icy glare. For those about to enter the ethereal stage, the body has lost its use. A mere arm will be nothing more than decoration. While I can let you keep it, you will have to endure 49 days on the burning pillar. You decide. Third young master Han was ashen, looking at his second brother in worry. 49 days under scorching heat? It was akin to being burned alive. Third young master Han cupped his hands to plead some more, but second young master Han stepped in. Father, I choose the burning pillar. Second young master Han bowed. The man nodded, appeased. That's how my son should act. A man must take responsibility for his failures. Wait. A glum-faced youth entered. Elder Mo bowed at once. Eldest young master. The youth nodded and addressed the tough man. Father, brother failed because the gap between them was too great. It's not his fault. But he lost to a lower 3 sex disciple. Even lower than that, a laborer. What of it? The youth showed no fear in face of his father's mask of rage. A hero can come from anywhere. Strength is all that matters, not status. Losing to the strong is no dishonor. And with the approaching double dragon gathering, punishing second brother will harm his performance. We will then become the last among the middle 3 sects and the demon scheming sex target. Elder Mo was clear on his strength, and father knows he has the qualities of a middle 3 sex genius. Status isn't everything. The towering man relinquished a nod. In view of double dragon gathering fast approaching, the punishment shall be postponed. Further evaluation will be given in light of your performance at the gathering. Thank you, father. Second young master Han cupped his hands. The man nodded and left through a side door, pausing just before leaving. Eldest, what is your opinion of this sudden labor from the demon scheming sect? A worthy opponent turning the boring double dragon gathering into something interesting, huh? The youth snickered. The man nodded and left. I have no hope of you getting us in the superior 3 sects, but the least you can do is maintain our position. In case the demon scheming sect does have the power to rise above its station, we'd better let others take the fall. Father is clearer than anyone on what this labor signifies. The youth grinned and turned to his brothers. In a valley, a youth flashed in the open. He wore a blue robe, his eyes delicate and his aura strong. Taking a deep breath to collect himself, he laughed before the stone door. Junior brother, I'm out of seclusion. What are you waiting for? Double dragon gathering waits for no man. Senior brother, you're a fine talent coming out so soon. You aren't called the best talent in Western lands for nothing. A sigh came from beyond. Senior brother, I just need a little more time, and I will catch up. The senior brother chuckled. Is that how a junior brother acts? Teasing your senior brother? I'm not that shameless to call myself the best talent in Western lands with you around. Why? Senior brother has been in the ethereal stage for years, while little old me just entered. Senior brother, please don't jest. A chuckle replied. The senior brother shook his head and waited 6 hours later. Senior brother's patience was running thin when rumbling came from beyond the door. Waves upon waves of energy shot out, spiking the temperature in the valley. The grass and trees dried up and then ignited. Even senior brother felt tense from the sense of his innards boiling. He set his eyes on the closed stone door and sweated. J. Junior brother's innate flame? He finally fused it with his soul, yet it holds such power. This freak? Ha ha ha. I bet he just stole my best talent in Western lands title. Senior brother was sullen from sense of loss. Meanwhile, in a deep and eerie forest, around 20 riders rested beneath the shade of a large tree, their mighty auras scaring animals away. Whoosh. Something black flashed, and a vicious-looking man barked. "Where's Yenmo? Where'd he run off to?" "Oh, Elder Chinya," a lovely woman mocked. "Senior brother Yenmo found it so boring here, so he wanders about. He'll meet us at the Double Dragon gathering." "He's at again, running away by himself." The elder was outraged. "His goddamned rash behavior will get him killed one of these days. What if he comes after the Double Dragon gathering ends? What then?" The woman shrugged. "It's fine. Senior brother Yenmo will never miss it. He's not a child. Who'd believe that with his track record?" The elder spat. "Every damn time we have to visit other sects, he slips away. We meet some trouble, he slips away. He's got not one honorable streak in him, but this is Double Dragon gathering, once every few centuries. It affects the future of the sect, yet he slips anyway." The elder held his aching head. The woman grinned. Then a cold voice came. "Elder Chinya, brother Yin won't be late." "How do you know?" "I just do." The man continued. "Because brother Yin won't let the chance of meeting the best talent in Western lands go. He will come, ha ha." The men looked at each other and nodded. In the meantime, Mystical Heaven Sects Group reached a bustling town with many trinkets on display. The lively mood had these disciples gawking for being stuck in the sect all their lives, but in a noisy tavern, a red-haired youth with a creepy smile set his eyes on the charming group of beauties on the street. Chapter 609, Overgrown Town. Chapter 609, Overgrown Town. 1212. On a bright day on a wide road, a group of people had taken to a particular type of walking. They twisted with every movement, giving their all as they undertook the sheer ordeal that was walking. From how stiff they were, they looked like polio patients. They were none other than demon scheming sect disciples, whom Zhuo Fan cheated by making them take the zombie pill. What started off as a dozen disciples on this journey was now less than 10. Though their stiff faces showed unprecedented resolve, they saw with their own eyes how their teammates turned into solid rock and how the wind carried away their ashes. None wanted the same horrid fate to happen to them. For God's sake, Zhuo Fan is savage. Once you stop moving, you're dead. Kuei Lang took another step. Practically hearing his bones and muscles creaking, he turned a worried look behind. "Ganger, how are you holding up?" Kuei Gang was overwhelmed. "Dad, it's been 10 days without my cultivation. I can hardly hold on. I just want to rest. Now I know what they say about a life worse than death." The rest nodded their sorrowful faces, cursing Zhuo Fan's lineage as far as they could take it. Kuei Lang gnashed his teeth. "Ganger, keep going. Any break will kill you. You saw it yourself what happens to those that stop." "I know, Dad. Master is so vicious. He expects us to go like this to the Double Dragon gathering before curing us." Kuei Gang gulped, his eyes tearing. Kuei Lang sighed. He only held on so far for his son, or he'd be long since scattered among the clouds. Zhuo Fan and the Venerables watched over them from a cliff with ease of mind. Fiend Yang frowned, though. "Isn't this enough? So many died already, and if this keeps up, there'll be no point in going. I'll just go alone then. Besides, my word is gold. I'll stay by to the end and let them endure it until we get there. All those who die are just too weak." Zhuo Fan snorted. "Look at them. Aren't they getting a steady pace by now? Just like plain walking. Now that's progress. You call a habit progress?" The trio shook their heads, worried at the disciples' weary and sweaty brows. They're nothing but mortals now, and having gone through such an ordeal for so long, they're at their limit. A break will do them good. "Are you sure?" Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow, his smile creepy. "The day of Double Dragon gathering draws near." The trio eyed him and were puzzled. It was like staring at a whitewashed wall, but without all the emotion. Fiend Yang thought Zhuo Fan was being particularly vague. What's wrong with it? Taking a half-day break won't be a problem. "All right then, we'll do it your way." Zhuo Fan beamed and looked at the far-off town. "How about we rest there?" The trio nodded skeptically. Why is he so kind all of a sudden? Zhuo Fan flashed before the tormented soul, shouting. "Seeing your great progress these days, the Venerables pleaded for you, and I relented in letting you rest in the town just up ahead." Truly, they all lit up. The harsh 10-day-long journey took its toll on their bodies, teetering on the edge of collapse. Steward's words were music to their ears. Don't dally then. Chop chop. They sped up on the spot. The dangling carrot was too enticing to give up. While still stiff as wood, they were now resembling humans. At least an hour passed, and they arrived at the town. Though it was desolate, there was not a person in sight, nor any signs that they were there. The stillness, from even the lack of animals, was eerie. A ghost town. The venerables sensed something and frowned. Fan, this is no place to tarry. We better leave soon. Take it easy. We're only going to rest our legs. Fan looked around. Let's look for a tavern and leave these now mortals to rest their laurels. The others nodded. Steward Joie, you're finally showing some compassion. All they got from him was a wide smile as he led them to a tavern. The inside was just as desolate as the town. With dust settled on the chairs, there's no one here. We'll help ourselves then. Fan smiled. The rest sighed. They were too stiff to even twitch. It took so long for them to get here, yet not a single servant was there to serve them. Oh, the humanity! Unfortunately, they just had to make do with doing these things themselves, or were they about to ask Steward Joie and the venerables? The disciples dragged their weary bodies into the role of laborers once more. Doing it in the sect, or outside, was the same as being fated for this job. Everyone shared a forced smile. Fan and the venerables took a table, releasing their discerning field only to find it devoid of any movement. Still, this place is strange. By the looks of it, it feels like a demonic cultivator's handiwork. It must have been recent too, going by the furniture state, half a month at most. Fan knocked on the table. The venerables nodded. Fiend Yang said, I can only hope he's no longer here. He doesn't stick his nose in our matters, and neither will we. Let him try, and then he'll get it. Humph! Fan cut and the others snickered. The demonic cultivator must be a rogue one that steals others' cultivation. Without resources, all he can do is resort to these despicable and revolting acts. Unlike them, who had a backer, stopping them from wiping out towns whenever they felt like it. It would only get worse as they'd be hunted down by righteous cultivators. Unlike rogues, demonic cultivators from a sect had discipline and self-restraint. They were less fearful from the moment they knew they were dealing with a rogue cultivator. How strong could he be when he lacked resources? All he could do was pick on mortals. He stood no chance against these sectarians. Though there were exceptions like the really talented rogue cultivators, they were an extreme minority. Cheers! We have overcome the first training. With the cups filled and food served, Fan sported an extra-wide grin as he toasted. The others replied in kind. Cheering and enjoying the respite after the meal, Fan slapped the table. Time to go. Whoosh! Tried as they might to get up, they couldn't. They were back to where they started, stiff as a rock. What's going on? Fiend Yang asked. Fan grinned all-knowingly. Didn't I tell you? Once you take the zombie pill, you have to keep moving or you'll freeze in place. Now that you rested your legs, you're back where you started. You've got to be joking. The victims looked sullen and crushed. They just got walking figured out, and now they were back to square one. The agony and the cruelty of it all waiting to be relished again had them all wish for a swift and easy death. Steward Joie, you duped us. Kue Lang howled. Fan's grin widened. When pray tell? It's the venerables who wanted you to rest. I warned you, but did you listen? Hey, don't shift blame. You didn't try to stop it either. Yeah, you said we could stop, but we didn't think we'd bounce back to the starting line. How can... Kue Lang complained. Fan scratched his nose like a damn rogue as he admitted it. Yep, I did it on purpose. What are you going to do about it? They all fell speechless. How damn rotten and vile can you be? If we could hold a sword, we'd have run you through by now and hanged your head. Every single one of them held Fan in absolute hatred then. A red blade flashed straight for Fan's throat. We were only thinking of doing it, right? Chapter 610 by Whoosh. The burning red sword was right at Fan's throat. The crippling bloodlust made everyone's skin crawl. Fan's heart tightened, raising his right hand to catch it as it screeched to a halt. He noticed the other end of the sword was held by a 20-year-old dainty girl with big eyes. She unleashed a sharper and deadlier blow than her fifth-layer radiant stage cultivation, led one to believe not that it was of any damn use against Zhuofan's squinting. Zhuofan's hand shook, and the girl was sent flying into a table. Zhuofan held the sword proper, his icy eyes staring at the attacker. The three fiends of hell snickered from behind, drinking as if nothing happened. No radiant stage cultivator, even a sneaky one, would get the better of Zhuofan. The trio was enjoying the unexpected attack like a good act, commenting on how the last was weak, arrogant, and overconfident clang. Knocking on the red blade, Zhuofan sized it up, his mouth grinning in an evil way. Sixth-grade spiritual weapon, and made quite well, too. A shame the owner fails to wield it. Why you? The last glared with hatred. Zhuofan had a smile for her instead. Missy, what on earth are you doing attacking me out of the blue? Especially weak as you are. Ha ha ha. The audience laughed at the comedy. Even the stiff disciples, mocking the girl's stubborn streak. The lass spared no hatred for anyone other than Zhuofan. That's my line. Who the hell are you? Why did you take our young master? Hand him over. Took your young master. Zhuofan and the venerables shared a glance. We just got here 2 hours ago. We don't even know who you are, and you say we took someone? The lass wasn't buying. Liar. Do you see anyone else around? If not you, then who? Despicable demonic cultivators. You all are beyond saving for not even admitting your faults. That touched a nerve in the rest, and it was now their turn to glare at her. Kuei Lang's side would have been tearing her to pieces by now. Except for one tiny detail, they were frozen stiff. Zhuofan shrugged, pointing at the lass. See that? That's a righteous cultivator for you. Self-righteous and cocky. What would you guys do if a mere lass would spout such rubbish? Kill her, waste her, torture her, peel her flesh, force on. Yeah, but saving your condition, all right? Seeing them so gung-ho, Zhuofan cooled them off with a grin. Don't you worry about anything, I have my ways. Why not have her join your club? The kids' eyes glittered, their smiles widening. Steward Zhua is the best. Yeah, let her get stiff like us, then die as a rock. Kuei Lang snickered, sharing one's suffering with another always makes one happier. Though in this case, it was just plain mean since it dragged her into this torture. Zhuofan turned to the girl, his smile widening. She shivered for no apparent reason and panicked. What are you doing? Me? Just giving you a taste of a demonic cultivator's handiwork. Hi. Zhuofan loomed over the lass, his smile disturbing. The wee girl shivered in fear, losing her tough front the instant she noticed the twinkle in his eyes. Gulping, her eyes darted around for an out, and she bolted outside the tavern. Zhuofan bam-fed in her face and made her gasp. To make double sure, he also clamped down on her shoulder, the cracking sound earning a cry, and a grimace. Evil smiles were a trend today, as everyone bore it. Wallowing in others' misfortune, Zhuofan held a pill with the other hand and grinned, inching it closer to the lass's dainty mouth. Girl, take it, and you won't feel pain, since dumb people are too stiff in the head to feel it to begin with. Be nice, and Big Bro here will take good care of you. Hi. What the hell was that? Did you do the same to the young master? The lass saw the pill with fear. Zhuofan didn't bother explaining and just laughed. Ha. You'll know soon enough the meaning of hell on earth. The girl shuddered and cried. Help! Senior sister, help me. Go ahead, scream. No one's going to save you now. Ha. The pack of wild beasts being under Zhuofan's thumb for so long could only find joy in seeing others suffer the same treatment. 3 fiends of hell were beaming as well. They hadn't been this happy in weeks. It's just a pit stop anyway to liven the mood before we resume our journey. Stop. However, just as Zhuofan was about to stuff the zombie pill into the girl's mouth, a cold shout rang out. In a flutter of white clothes and long fine hair dancing in the wind, the view of a perfect woman laid before them in the doorway. They all gasped, with the fiend's cups slipping from their hands. Such a perfect and amazing woman. How come I never knew she existed? Quit your yapping. I'll be with you. Zhuofan sensed the 8th layer radiant stage cultivation behind him, but didn't care though when he took a look. He stared speechless. Q-ching-ching. Crack. The thunder ring flickered, as did Chu Ching-ching's sister Ching-chung. The girl took advantage of the demon's lapse of judgment and slipped away to get to her side with a victimized look. Shui Fan let her go as he came to while the girl went to cry in Chu Qingqing's embrace. Sister. He is mean. They must have taken young master and sister. Danner, you're wrong here. While he is a meanie, he isn't one so despicable. I know his style all too well. Believe me, they didn't do it. Rubbing the girl's shoulder, Chu Qingchang soothed her, then gave Zhou Fan a coy smile. I see Steward Zhu's style hasn't changed at all, still picking on girls. They know each other. They all were slack-jawed, moving back and forth between them. Danner was stunned. The perfect and elegant sister, Qingcheng, knows such a nasty demon. Zhou Fan scratched his nose, not meeting her gaze. I'm not sorry for the girl when she was the one insisting on casting blame. I was only giving her a lesson, that's all. Everyone was bug-eyed. What the hell? Is the world coming to an end? Steward Zhua always moves with purpose and savagery, yet is now coming clean? They always had to be careful when talking around Zhua Fan, lest he snapped. This was the first time seeing this side of him. They looked at him like a stranger. They also turned to Chu Qingcheng with the same shocked expression. Who could she be to make the great steward Zhua turn meek? Are the rumors true? Behind every strong man is an even stronger woman? Chu Qingcheng stared at Zhua Fan's uneasy figure with a rare smile. Danner was speechless, having never seen her reveal such a beautiful smile. Zhua Fan, are you saying it's all her fault? Chu Qingcheng questioned. Zhua Fan flicked his head away. Of course, she came casting blame. Is that what a grown man does? Nitpicking with weak little girls. That's me. What about me? Well, the audience was lost for words. What the hell are they doing? The absurdity of it all made the situation fly right past them. But all in all, it looked like lovers flirting. Hey, Steward Zhua, what are you doing flirting with a woman? Didn't you say there's only the weak and the strong in this world? They sighed, resigned, with Chu Qingcheng the only one questioning him and Zhua Fan stuck up in his own stubborn ways. Chapter 611, Drunkard. Chapter 611, Drunkard. Spill it, old man. Where are you keeping our people? Shui Ruohua sat on a bench in an inn, with a woman in blue and 10 more people next to her. She was glaring at a tied-up, red-nosed old man. The grandpa had no care, his head swooning and wearing a silly smile. Gee, give me wine. Screw you. Shui Ruohua snapped. It's been 5 days, damn drunkard. No matter how much you have drunk, you should be sober by now. Quit your faking, or I'll have to get serious. The threat went right over the old man, swaying all the same and saying wine again and again, rolling her eyes. Shui Ruohua raised her hand. She was going to slap some sense into the drunkard. One to break bones. It was then that she heard something from outside. 1, 2. 1, 2. Shui Ruohua tensed and glanced at the woman in blue. Go see what it is. Shui Ruohua said. The woman looked out the window to see a bunch of zombies taking one painful step after another their way. In the lead were 4 totally average people, while at the side were the ever-familiar Chu Qingcheng and Danner leading them. And chatting, the woman in blue jerked as she witnessed junior sister Qingcheng's bright smile. She reported, Senior sister Ruohua, it's junior sister Qingcheng returning. Though she brought a bunch of weirdos. They're all so stiff. She must have caught someone suspicious. Open the barrier and let them in. Shui Ruohua brightened. The drunkard shook his head. More innocent people are dragged into this. Such a heavy sin. So you can listen. Now stop faking. Once they come in, I'll deal with you. Shui Ruohua sent one last glare and had the rest watch him as he and the woman in blue went outside. The drunkard chuckled as his head swayed. How unbearably naive. Any longer, and the kid would have played me to death. The inn's barrier opened, and the girls walked toward the stiff guys and said, Junior sister Qingcheng, did you find a bastard's lair? You got so many captives, and even went so hard on them. They're barely alive. Who are you calling a dead captive? They may be crippled a tiny bit, sure, but you're not to mock them. Talk about discrimination. Zhua Fan growled thanks to Shui Ruohua's words. The zombies were in lower spirits, if possible, looking at Zhua Fan with dejection and bitterness. Steward Zhua, you're one to talk. You did this to us. Zhua Fan shrugged, while Shui Ruohua froze. Why you're... Oh, senior sister Ruohua. I forgot to make the introductions. Chu Ching Chong flowed next to Zhua Fan and grabbed his hand, presenting with utmost joy. He is Zhua Fan, an old friend from Tianyu. He now represents the demon scheming sect in Double Dragon Gathering. You met once. He heard of our troubles and came to help. Zhua Fan snatched his hand back with an odd face, blurting yes, right? We just stumbled into each other while resting here. We don't care about your business. You guys keep moving and go in, or any slowpoke will be stiff for life. Zhua Fan went next to his victims and instructed Koei Lang mourned his plight. Steward Zhua, we'll never rest again in our lives. You'll go in either way. With how unnatural this place is, you'll be sitting ducks outside, especially in your weak states. Let's just go then. Lu Xie sighed. Zhua Fan turned frosty. That's for me to decide. I'm the boss here. Lu Xie was outraged. Fool. Steward Zhua hardly cares about women, and now that he found one that took his fancy, he'll never leave. You can't even see this? Chi Chong Long glared. Lu Xie was stubborn. The sect rule says you can dual cultivate, but not sprout feelings. Did you forget? The rules are made for the strong. You have seen it and know it all too well. Chi Chong Long snorted. Lu Xie sighed, and the others nodded. Feeling the malcontent in their voices, Zhua Fan was at an impasse on what to do. Not that he gave a hoot for demon scheming sex rules, but they did have one he agreed on. Feelings were a deadly poison to a demonic cultivator. Chu Qingsheng saw the sullen Zhua Fan and chuckled. Whether from loss or disappointment, she kept her face straight, though. He doesn't like meeting new people. Chu Qingsheng went inside, ignoring Zhua Fan. Shui Ruohua was stumped by her bright, yet painful smile. They all soon went inside, and the barrier was restored. The fiends rolled their eyes. They didn't give a damn about this, but since Zhua Fan did, they had to oblige. The mystical heaven sect must be relaxed to send the disciples without elders. Fiend Yang noticed the cultivations around and smirked. Shui Ruohua sighed. We had 3 elders with us, but the demonic cultivator captured them, leaving us alone. My, how the mighty mystical heaven sect has fallen, to even have its elders captured. Huh. The fiends mocked. The zombies joined in mystical heaven sect group was furious. Have you demons come to help or kick us when we're down? You were better off not coming at all. Zhua Fan said, Now, you might be captured next as well. Ugh, Fiend Yang groaned. Zhua Fan, what are you doing helping outsiders? Don't you know girls are like clothes, while brothers are your hands and feet? Zhua Fan's face fell, while the people from Mystical Heaven sect looked startled. How tough is he? While we fawn over elders, he has venerables fawn over him. An unnatural and disturbing reversal. Ha. Demonic cultivators are always funny. Running your mouth, then contradicting yourselves. Since girls are clothes, you might as well sell your brothers out to get some. Why all the hesitation? The fiends were annoyed. The dumb speaker was none other than a drunkard wearing a taunting smile. Old fool. Say that again. Fiend Yang pointed at him. The old man belched and mocked. Am I wrong? Sure, girls are like clothes and brothers your hands. But look around you. There are plenty of guys without hands. Yet have you ever seen someone skipping around buck naked? Shui Ruohua's side giggled. It was the first time since they captured the old man that he defended their dignity. Fiend Yang's forehead sported an extra thick vein. Zhua Fan interfered, though. And he is. Seeing the town suspicious, we investigated and only found him around. So we captured him for interrogation, but he never talked. Having helped her once, Shui Ruohua found it natural to explain. Fiend Yang grinned and glared at the old guy. Having found the excuse to get back at him, leave him to me. I'll loosen his mouth. Soon he'll be begging to talk. Hi. The others chilled at his tone. Zhua Fan blocked him and stared, before speaking with respect towards the old man. Senior, we have been most rude. Please forgive our transgression. The rest were dumbfounded. Does he know him? The old man jerked. What's the kid playing at? Chapter 612, Confusion. Chapter 612, Confusion. You know him. Chu Qingsheng turned her soft eyes to Zhua Fan. Zhua Fan shook his head. Never seen him in my life. Why then do you show such respect? It's not like you. Chu Ching Chung asked demon scheming sex gang was most intrigued. If stewards would never cursed an old man openly, it was already showing respect. Zhua Fan shrugged, looking around before fixing his gaze on mystical heaven's sex side. You said everyone in this town was captured, and only he remained, right? Yes, when we arrived it was bustling, but over a few days it became like this. After much searching, we only found him. Shui Rohua said. Zhua Fan sighed and pointed. Tell me, what is his cultivation? None whatsoever. Isn't he just an average old man? Everyone shook their heads. Zhua Fan grinned. Is it that he has no cultivation that you're mocking? Or maybe he's so high up the realms you can't even sense it. What? All he got was gasps of disbelief. There were even ethereal stage experts here, yet they still couldn't tell. Just how strong was this old coot? You can tell then? Shui Ruohua asked. Nope. Zhua Fan shook his head, and that's what makes it frightening. Everyone rolled their eyes and eased up with Shui Ruohua glaring, then stopped spouting bullshit. You got us scared for a second there. We messed with an expert. Ha ha ha. Messing or not, it depends on your fortune and the old man's mood. Zhua Fan sported a vague grin. You said it yourself. Everyone in the town was gone except for this elderly man. That means two things. Either this elder escaped, and the culprits disdained going after him, or the elder is so powerful the culprits had no way of dealing with him. Yet you jumped right to accusing him without so much as a clue how it happened. This offense, I fear. Mystical heaven sex sighed, hearts tightened. But he's so plain. How is he supposed to be a world expert? Does that mean we're dead? From the pearly white smile the old guy was giving, Shui Rohua's side was panicking. Then Zhua Fan gave another bow, his tone so annoying he got mystical heaven sex side fuming. Elders, see that? We've only met by chance here. We don't know them. So there needs to be clear about the guilty parties here. If you have any gripes, take it out on them without any restraint. We'll just stay on the sideline, cheering you on. If you find us an eyesore, then we would gladly leave. Shui Rohua's side had dark faces. Did you come to help or dig us a bigger hole? Demon scheming sex sighed, laughed it up. Zhua Fan, get lost already and stop spinning wild tales and making it worse for us. Damn vile demon spawns, they're all evil. None will help us for real. Shui Ruohua spat and Danner followed. Demon scheming sex gang showed a nasty smile. Like second nature to them. Zhua Fan huffed. Think I want to butt in? He peeked at Chu Qingsheng only to see her looking at him with lovely eyes. He swished his head away at once, his heart a mess. Ha ha ha. The OL drunkard laughed, nodding. Nice one, boy, you got me, unlike these softies. Let me give you a warning as a reward. Go now while you're not involved. They have set the trap and are about to reap the joys of the hunt soon enough. You have no chance against a sharp mind. Leave while you can. The rest were startled. Zhua Fan was right. As if to cement his theory, the drunkard flexed, and the ropes binding him fell to pieces just like that. Even Zhua Fan shuddered. Just the fact the rope was dealt with without the single sign of Yuan Qi leaking showed he had reached a godly level in raw power. Such precise control pointed at high cultivation and heart. The old man was far worse than he thought, and Zhua Fan was stern stretching about. The old man chuckled. Where's the wine? How can this be an inn without a drink? Venerable Fiend Yang, take out the wine you took from the tavern and offer it to Senior. Zhua Fan said. Fiend Yang complied, his brow soaked. He realized, at last, the old man was a monster, so much that his skills looked like parlor tricks by comparison. Then came the crushing regret. What's wrong with me? Why had I been taunting the old guy? He just has to be petty, and my poor life would be gone. Shui Ruohua's side was struck by abject fear. They were the ones who messed with the monster. Most the old guy chuckled. It's far too late for regrets, though. Do you know how all who messed with me ended up? Ha ha. He scared the kids. Though Zhua Fan didn't buy it. Sir shouldn't scare the kids. They did it out of ignorance. If Sir were to nitpick, they'd be goners ages ago. I can see Sir doesn't stoop to their level, seeing their naive nature. I must say, I admire Sir's jovial nature in playing with people's feelings. Aha, nice one, kid. You turned it around, so it'll make me look bad if I do strike them. The old man's eyes glittered. Since you gave me some wine, I'll give this one for free. Leave now. You won't stand a chance if you stay. The old man then walked out of the inn, and everyone jumped out of his way creek. The brilliant sun shone through the open door, and the old man sighed. So late, there's no escape now. Kid, you're on your own. This had nothing to do with you. Alas, this is fate. The old man went through the barrier like nothing. The rest gasped. They captured a monster who could cross barriers without a sign, meaning his cultivation must have reached the pinnacle. See that? If not for our stewards who were reminding you of your offense, you'd be dead. Thank him already. Kuei Lang shouted at the girls from Mystical Heaven's sect. They all stood dumbfounded, then thanked Zhuofan with their eyes. Fiend Yang held Zhuofan's shoulder, reproaching. I told you not to get involved. You were this close to getting instantly killed by a worldly expert. I almost peed my pants from fear. Got that muddled kid. Chill. Zhuofan gestured and pointed outside. Fog is coming. The others saw the sun covered in thick fog and the world darkening. Fiend Yang asked, What's odd about evening mist? True, but have you ever seen a fog that blocks divine sense? They all released their discerning field to find nothing in its range. The fog was eerie, stopping everyone's discerning field dead in its tracks. Zhuofan's mood was heavy. The old man was right. We're stuck here now. Chapter 613, An Old Demon's Experience. Chapter 613, An Old Demon's Experience. What do we do now? Shui Ruohua turned to Zhuofan. As did the others, all that happened cemented their trust in Zhuofan. Even Mystical Heaven Sect's group, Zhuofan answered. Know thyself and your enemy, and you shall be ever victorious. So before we try tackling the problem, we must know what we're dealing with. I sensed something wasn't right about this place, but didn't have the details. We clear this up, and then we can act. Zhuofan went back inside with the rest while the barrier grew smaller from the thick fog, sizzling. It's like this. In the glum inn, they all sat around a table with a single candle. Kuei Lang's gang was not included, warming up at the side to keep the blood flowing and the stiffness at bay. They added the musical element to the situation by the cracking of bones and snapping of muscles. An eerie vibe. All in all, Shui Ruohua felt a shiver on her back, doing her utmost not to watch those creepy things crackling. We set off for Double Dragon Gathering a fortnight ago. As we passed through here, we stopped at a tavern, where we met a red-haired youth with sinister eyes, a demonic cultivator, no doubt. It's definitely the work of demonic cultivators. Zhuofan and the fiends shared a glance. The youth was pushy with our sisters, so young master shouted at him, which made him angry. Unable to do anything since we had 3 elders with us, he left. What we took as fear turned out to be a plan for the next morning. Everyone in town was gone without a trace. The elders urged us to leave, but young master was gone as well. Zhuofan asked Shui Ruohua, grieved. Yes, young master is weak from illness. And now that he's gone, we're worried sick. We looked everywhere, but found nothing while the elders vanished one after the other as well. Every time we went searching, we got fewer and fewer. All we could do was set up a barrier and search only during the day. Playing cat and mouse. Zhuofan called out what the fiends were thinking. Shui Ruohua asked, What's that? It's a game. A cat plays with the mouse once it catches it rather than eating it right away, relishing in its victim's every expression of agony. Zhuofan grinned. Why would the culprits pick you out a couple a day when they had no trouble taking every townsfolk and your elders? Taking you all prisoners would be far too easy. But instead, they let you experience dread like no other, living in fear day after day. That's playing cat and mouse. Mystical Heaven Sect's heart sank and nodded. Zhuofan's side. I used to play this game when I got bored, but now it lost its thrill. Aha! Heroes do the same. We used to mess around as well, but ever since becoming venerables, we didn't have the time and lost interest. Fiend Young laughed. To be frank, back in the day, I'd find myself an eyesore and mess around with him for kicks. The 4 nodded and laughed. Shui Ruohua's side was sullen. Sickos. Humph. No demonic cultivator is any good. You're all vile for toying with someone's life. Danner approached while the 4 stayed silent. Kuei Lang felt the need to answer, crying next to the lass. Damn right. You are all so evil, doing this to us. I can't take it anymore. Oh, there's someone wise among demonic cultivators. Danner looked shocked and amazed, but then felt the need to strangle him by what she heard. Can you stop with the peeling, flaying, and whatnot? How fun is that anyway? Is it fun, wasting time over nothing? I just knew you're all lost causes. Dana wailed. Juafan's side laughed. He sure liked poking fun at the lass. Girly, even demonic cultivators of gentlemen and thugs. Kuei-lang here is in the latter category. Unlike us men of culture and refinement, savoring the person's prolonged agony, relishing their every cry. Juafan's group laughed along with each other, making Danner feel worse as she hugged Chu Qingchang for comfort. Sister, how can humans be like this? Didn't I tell you they were bad? Learn to accept it. Chu Qingchang snapped a glare. Juafan's Wei Juafan quibbled with an arched eyebrow. Why are you looking at me? I'm only helping some panicky sister's young master on account of the happy times back then. Though I reckon he's dead by now. So you admit it now. Chu Qingchang beamed at him with a warm gaze, skipping over the life of a poor man on the line here. She went straight to the two's comings and goings. Juafan spoke with pride. Of course. First things first, the kid loves playing around, with a calm mind and sharp intuition. Or he'd have snuffed you all out the minute you butted into his play instead of taking one a night. He took your crippled young master to trap you here and let him have his fun at your expense. You're not to talk bad about young master. He is only ill. You said it yourself, he's in poor health. So what's it to me? Juafan's voice cut Danner's sharp reprimand on the spot. Letting her choke on her words, Danner turned a pleading look to Chu Qingchang, but she giggled. Steward Jua is so wise and experienced in the ways of the world. As a senior, I can tell with ease what his damn game is. Just how many times have we done it in our days? Fiend Yang replied to Juafan in pride. So true, and the kid sure feels like an expert in his games. Having no setbacks so far, his heart must be brimming with pride and confidence. We've gone through too many hellish matters to keep our inner child naive and playful. That's why I've been saying we no longer play these games. We're better off cultivating our strength. Juafan nodded sagely. The kid is green at heart, making his pride leave holes in his grand plan. Shuai watched in absent shock how these devilish people unraveled everything she had to admit against some toying demonic cultivators. These old veterans right here were the best men for the job, unlike them. Losing their heads the instant young master was gone, and playing further in the enemy's hand fiends aside. Why was it the young Juafan who gave her the feeling he was more shrewd and sharp than these oldies? It gave Juafan an air of mystery. Deadly for young maidens such as herself, Juafan was like a throne buried under the sea she just had to uncover. That settles it. Juafan eyed everyone. The guy must have pushed you close to insanity these 2 weeks. He cleared the town to set the mood and give him an edge in achieving his goal. It was just then we walked in, and an ignorant lass saw my stiffies and jumped to conclusions in fear that I was the culprit. So she ran at me like a crazy broad with pointy metal. You're the crazy one. Danner bit back. Juafan smiled. No one crazy would have seen the 3 ethereal stage experts around me. Yet you just came on stab-in. Are your eyes for decoration? Fool? Sister Qingchang, he's mocking me. Danner whined, and Chu Qingchang smiled. Patting her shoulder, she then eyed Juafan. I'm curious, though, what's up with them? Just like you, disobedient. And now their punishment is my joy. Juafan showed his pearly whites. Mystical Heaven Sex Gang shuddered. Looking at the stiff group, all demonic cultivators are vile and cruel. This was worse than them being toyed with. Chapter 614. Captured. Chapter 614. Captured. Chu Qingchang gave him a long look and smiled. I know your style, so save it. You've been in the Luo clan for so many years, and not once have you used your evil tendencies on them. Juafan, she has you down pat. Now that she mentions it, you never were mean to your people in the sect either. I can see why you are with her. Ha ha ha. So you must be close. Fiend Yang looked from Chu Qingchang to Juafan with a knowing smile. Juafan's face fell, glared at Fiend Yang, and then said, Desperate times call for desperate measures. Staying any longer will lead to our doom. It's better we leave at once. What about young master and the elders? We can't just leave them. Shui Ruohua, cried Fiend Young, mocked her for the idiot she was. Stay here and let the guy play you like a fiddle. While leaving will make him sour and force his hand. We'll draw him out, turning the tables. If you can't see even this logic, mystical heaven sect is hopeless. Shui Ruohua lowered her flushed face, fight fire with fire. In this case, demonic cultivators against demonic cultivators. They have more experience and should listen to them. Shui Ruohua cupped her hands. I leave it all to you. Then let's. SSS. Sizzling cut off Zhuofan's words as the fog slipped in through the cracks everywhere he looked, like a demon's claw, ready to maim everyone. Flustered and jumped back, looking apprehensive. What about the barrier? How did the fog slip in? Shui Ruohua turned to Zhuofan. She found this man, the only one reliable here. Despite being a stranger, Zhuofan explained. Didn't the rest get taken at night? Yes. Shui Ruohua replied. Zhuofan sighed. The guy wants to take initiative, taking us all before leaving. What? Why then? Is it in the evening? It's not the right time. Zhuofan mulled. Have any of your disciples been captured lately? Shui Ruohua frowned and shook her head. No, not since we set up the barrier. Ha ha ha. The guy is brilliant. You saw it yourself. Your barrier is useless. He had his own reasons for staying his hand so far. Zhuofan's eyes sharpened. Did any disciples vanish while you had the elder tied up? Shui Ruohua pondered. You're right, there were none. Does that mean it's the old man's doing and not the youth's? What utter nonsense. The elder could have snapped your necks at any time. Zhuofan sighed. The guy must have been afraid of the elder, but that variable is now gone, and he's free to act. Shui Ruohua and the rest were speechless. Never for the life of them would have concluded the same guy they had tied up was their lucky charm. And now the charm just flew out the door. If only we knew, we'd have treated the mister with respect. How can we be so blind? Shui Ruohua's gang was wallowing in self-pity. Zhuofan picked up on it at a glance. He turned to the encroaching fog with a frown. What's done is done. Stop feeling sorry for yourselves and get upstairs. We need to put some distance from the fog. Zhuofan pulled Chu Qingqing's exquisitely soft hand and was first to go. Chu Qingqing gave him a look and let him take her fine hand with a brilliant smile. He's always cold to me, but at least he has me in his heart. Steward Zhuo, what about us? The rest followed after him, almost all. Since Kuei Lang's gang was stiff as a board, they had a pretty tough time moving with any grace. He watched the incoming fog like a beast's maw, ready to tear into him. Kuei gang and Yuera pleaded. Master, can you release our poison until this is over? The fiends nodded. The situation was grave, and they had no time to dally with training. Zhuofan thought, scoffed. Ha ha ha. Release you? My word is golden, and nothing in the world will ever change that. So you better put that energy into running and not waste words. The victims were in tears. There was no way they could escape in their stiff predisposition. All felt like death was better off. At least they wouldn't suffer as much. As the fog crept over, they gnashed their teeth and pushed on faster. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. Spurred on by the imminent threat looming behind them, they gained speed, though hardly much, but faster than your average human. Zhuofan raised an eyebrow. Well done. I think I didn't give them the proper incentive to work hard till now. Zhuofan, this is no time for training. Who knows what the fog is hiding? I don't want to end up with only you at Double Dragon Gathering. At the incoming fog on the stiffies, the fiends were further on edge. Zhuofan waved their worry away. All the more reason to let them test the waters. SSS. Even Mystical Heaven Sect's gang gasped at his cruelty. Is he human or devil? He's throwing his fellow comrades to the wolves. Won't they die? Such a savage demonic cultivator is a rarity. Fiend Young item, why you're crazy. What about Double Dragon Gathering? What if it fails? Lighten up, didn't we guess the guy's intentions? He's only playing. I believe he'll only capture them, though I'm all a quiver on how he'll take them away. No matter how strong, wiping a town clean of its residents is harder than it looks. It's easier to kill them all. Zhuofan's eyes glinted. This is the only way for us to leave through the fog. All switch to looks of adorations. His mind is so sharp, his heart steeled. Able to keep calm in the most serious danger like this. Demon Scheming Sect has brought up a true talent. So that's why the venerables defer to him. Fiend Yang wiped his brow. You're right. They'll be fine for a while. This tactic is so much better. I just forgot myself there. Act save me. On cue, the wails of the first victim echoed through the inn. Kuei Gang, the slowest slowpoke, got caught, letting out one single cry before vanishing. Zhuofan's eyes took in everything with deadly calm. Kuei Lang wailed at his son's misfortune, even charging right into the fog after him. His cries snuffed out the instant he touched the fog pressed on after the rest, swallowing the fearful prey as they shouted. The scene drove an even more desperate fear in the survivors. Trembling as the fog went up the stairs, only Zhuofan watched with a twitchy ear. Peculiar. The taken don't look like dead, nor captives, so why can't we sense them? Chapter 615. Fiend Yang's Demise. Chapter 615. Fiend Yang's Demise. SSS. The eerie fog swallowed the stiffies and their cries in a jiffy. Now creeping in higher, the others were panicky, looking at Zhuofan for a solution. Fiend Yang was sweating. I just can't tell what this thing is. Even ethereal stage experts will have a hard time passing through it. The people's hearts thumped in their chests. What does that leave us, dead? Calm down and watch. Zhuofan pulled Chu Qingsheng higher. She followed him with a carefree smile, her eyes only seeing her man. The fiends were annoyed. Zhuofan, you threw 10 disciples to the fog, yet you want more? We'll all soon end up dead. Take it easy. We didn't hear anything when the fog took them because they're caught. I'll save you as soon as I figure out this process. Zhuofan waved his hand. The fiends were stumped. You us? What's that supposed to mean? Since I can't tell what's happening right now, I'll need more live subjects until I do. You decide who gets to go. I'll soon save you anyway. Zhuofan raised an eyebrow. The fiends' faces twitched, cursing. Why the hell don't you try it yourself? I could die, you know, rushing into the unknown. Zhuofan taunted. You take me for a fool? You should die first, humph. Chu Qingsheng giggled at the side. You don't want to go, so you're making others do it. Just like old times, you haven't changed one bit. The fiends were dumbstruck, and you're saying we're the fools. Of course not, just that among everyone here, I am the one with sharper eyes and can refine pills and raise barriers. What can you do? Only alive can I save you. While with me, gone you'll soon follow. That leaves the crucial mission of testing the fog to you, while I wait behind in safety. Zhuofan showed his trademark evil smile. With an exasperating raise of the eyebrow, the trio nodded in the end. The damn kid is a pain, but why must he be so bloody right? Leaving this place alive would only be possible through him and his expansive wisdom. The trio resigned themselves. But they'd be damned if they be the first to take this retarded option of dying, their eyes swiveled to mystical heaven sect. With the fog creeping in and cutting our space, who'll go first? They all gulped, shaking their heads like their lives depended on it. It made one wonder which was worse, the fog or the three venerables' threat. Humph, you started this. Our disciples just fell victims, and now you're freaking grasping at straws? Get out there and test the fog. Fiend Yang shouted. Either you do it, or I make you. Fiend Yang's aura exploded, flexing his fourth layer ethereal stage cultivation on these hapless profound heaven disciples. Is this demon taking his anger on us? They shook there in their corner, inching back as the fog grew closer while watching the venerables in fear. They were stuck as to the right course of action. Please don't force them, seniors. I will go. Shui Rohua stepped out with dignity, glancing at Zhuofan with a plea. We got into this mess, and I thank you for coming to our rescue. I only hope my sacrifice will be of help to you and my fellow disciples in leaving here alive. Zhuofan nodded and gave a cold wave of his hand to get to it already. Quit dawdling and die already. I'll be sure to watch every second of it. Shui Ruahua lamented and sighed. He's so cold. A sinking feeling took hold of her heart. Chu Qingxing muttered, Senior sister, should I go instead? Whatever for? Zhua Fan frowned his grip harder on her hand, sensing his care. Chu Qingxing's heart grew fuzzy. I've been under senior sister's care ever since I came to Mystical Heaven Sect. Now it's my turn to help. Junior sister, it is my duty as the leader of Mystical Heaven Sect's group. I have to do this. Shui Hua spoke with conviction, and pride. Zhua Fan's eyes darted from her to Chu Qingcheng and pointed at Fin Yang. Neither, you will go. Screw you, you infatuated sap. Why should I go? Fin Yang exploded. Zhua Fan shrugged. You're the ethereal stage expert here. I feel like wanting to see the fog's effect on one. Will it be the same as the rest, or you'll put up a fight? Is it toxic fumes, or an array? Letting those weaklings go won't get me any answers. Fin Yang's heart beat out of his chest, his face miserable, yet no way to retort. Turning to Fiend Gui and Fiendine, they found the walls much more interesting than him, and the kid makes sense. You go. Fiend Yang, your sacrifice is much needed to show us brothers the way. The two sold him out, and Fiend Yang was fuming. You rotten piece of... You side with him and leave me to die. This is what I get for having you brothers for centuries. Venerable Fiend Yang, you won't be dying. Don't you trust me? Zhua Fan beamed. Fiend Yang sighed. Rather be safe than sorry, though it hardly makes a difference. If you can't get anything out of my going, you'll be following soon enough anyway. Besides, I survived Double Dragon Gathering, so I could survive anything. Fiend Yang walked on with conviction. The rest admired him. These demonic cultivators are foul beyond reason, yet quite heroic when the need arises. Not like Mystical Heaven Sect's disciples, all shying from danger. More scared than a woman, it was the least respect they could give these foul miscreants. Whoosh. Fiend Yang struck the fog with a palm attack. The mighty blow boomed into the fog, yet had no effect whatsoever. Fiend Yang's heart tensed, giving the fog enough time to grab him. Just a touch was all it needed, and Fiend Yang cried, Zhua Fan, this is... Whoosh. His voice was cut off, and his body was engulfed in front of the shocked audience. Fiend Yang. The other two fiends shouted. A powerful expert like Fiend Yang fell, just like nothing. What the hell is this thing? Zhua Fan's brows were tight in thought. This fog is not deadly by far, or it wouldn't leave its victim to even make a peep. By the looks of it, Fiend Yang found something. Maybe this thing prevents any sounds from escaping, holding them in place for the mastermind to tie them up. It's certain that no one inside is dead, just frozen and unable to speak. What matters is how to go in and save them. Fiendine continued. The others rejoiced to learn the fog didn't take lives. Though vexed as to how to deal with it, it all came down to how to cross it without falling prey. Zhua Fan's gaze drifted. Just what is this odd thing? Chapter 616, Array on Array. Chapter 616, Array on Array. The creepy fog drifted closer, making those that were too close turn slack and then swallow their saliva without so much as a peep. Every time it inched closer, it buried a deeper dread in the hearts of these people, making them scurry and shuffle further away, even when they had no place to go. The only exception was Zhua Fan, staring with a frown and ever hopeful for the tiniest hint that would help unravel this mystery. The fog's devouring continued unabated. Its struggling and erratic prey would halt all movements. Even their eyes glazed the instant they got close before sinking into the great white beyond. Zhua Fan caught every minute expression and muttered, It's so obvious now. The kid almost played me. Did you find a way? From Zhua Fan's cocky outburst, Chu Qingcheng smiled. The rest looked with hope. Fiend Yin asking, You know what this is? Sure, this thing's looks got us all fooled. This is no fog, nor is there any poison inside. Better yet, it doesn't exist. Zhua Fan explained. Zhua Fan snickered. Recall our analysis of the guy? Ha ha ha. He is truly just playing around. He set up the fog to scare and confuse us before it swallowed us all up, when in fact it's nothing but an expanding barrier, that of a bewildering array. Once inside it, you'll be taken by illusions and won't be able to escape regardless of being swallowed by it. So that's why. Fiend Yang's attack had no effect because it was empty to begin with. He must have come to the same conclusion when he shouted, but the illusion took hold just as he started. Fiend Gue figured it out as well. The same happened to all those who were taken. Their eyes dulled and didn't even cry as they were overcome by the illusions. But it sure is an impressive array for not even an ethereal stage expert to escape it. Despite being harmless, the fear still remained in the hearts of all remaining, since the array could deal with ethereal stage experts. They turned to Zhuo Fan with a pleading and tearful look. What did we ever do to deserve this fate? Zhuo Fan squinted at the fog still, muttering, "Not to worry, the guy ain't so tough. This array is definitely above 7th grade and quite intricate, but even that's not enough to take hold of an ethereal stage expert so fast." "I bet." "What?" Shui Ruohua asked. Zhuo Fan had a nasty grin. He used a special way to raise its effect. The most logical explanation is using sacred stones. "What?" Everyone cried, "But that's quite." Zhuo Fan raised an eyebrow. Of the entire Western lands, only the middle and superior 3 sects can have them. The middle 3 sect would get too little to waste like this. No elder in their right mind would throw them away on something as wasteful as an array. It only goes to show it's a demonic sect from the superior 3 sects, the number 1 demonic sect in Western lands, Hellion Flame sect. Ha ha ha, quite the head you have on your shoulder, despite the low cultivation. You guessed it. A cackle echoed from the fog. Startling the average disciple, Zhuo Fan grinned. "I was wondering what trick you used to take all townsfolk without a sound when it's just a mere illusion to make them leave by themselves." "Humph, punk, you're not bad. The first I've seen through my little game. Though what good will that do against a 7th grade array set up with sacred stones?" "Nothing, that's what, While he mocked, the rest turned to Zhuo Fan, having given them a trickle of hope. Yet now he only had a cold smile. They took Zhuo Fan for being scared, and their hearts sank. Only Chu Qingsheng had endless faith and a cute smile for a man. "Aren't you scared?" Zhuo Fan smiled at her. Chu Qingsheng shook her head, her eyes only for him. "I'll never be scared with you around." Zhuo Fan's heart twitched, and his mouth widened into a smile as his hand touched her back and let a red glow enter her. "No matter what happens, I'll never leave you." The 2 fiends were speechless. "Dude, we're your teammates here. Shouldn't you tell us how to deal with the danger? Fiend Yang and company are awaiting rescue. Yet here you are flirting with women? The sect rules are right. Any demonic cultivator taken by love will lose themselves in it." Shui Ruohua and the others had an odd taste in their mouth. Any sect forbids men and women for getting too close. While not as strict as demonic cultivators, righteous cultivators deny it on account of messing with their cultivation. These women were in the prime of their womanhood. Sure, they indulged in some hanky-panky now and then, but they still cultivated the rest of the time. But seeing these 2 in a world of their own, making stirred something in their lonely hearts. A longing and desire they never knew existed. Danner went beet red. Sister Qingsheng is like a fairy, with all in the sect adoring her. Yet why did she fall for a demon? She had no answer. That senior sister of hers was punished for the same reason. Danner began to worry about Chu Qingsheng's shaky future. "Go die, you rotten couple. Let her go, you prick. I got dibs first. Do it now or die." The hatred-fueled howl came from beyond the fog. While scared out of their minds still, the others had to admit that these 2 lovebirds showing off in public needed to be talked down. "Dude, we're on different sides, but we got your back." Zhuo Fan smiled, irking him on purpose, raising their connected hands. "I'm just that charming. What are you going to do about it?" Hi. Getting you separated is nothing to me. Overconfident punk." The cackle was followed by the billowing fog rushing for them. It took the rest in its wake like all the countless victims before. "I will have you suffer in the 7th grade soul rotting moon array for 49 days. When I get my fill of her, I'll drop by to tell you how she fared. Hi. All wanted to run away, but where?" It took little time for the fog to take them. Leaving but the cute couple, the 2 stepped back for as long as they could. But alas, the fog was on them. Chu Qingsheng's mind hazed over. Zhuo Fan shouted, "Qingsheng!" His cries died out, as well, with his eyes glazing over the cackle, came once again. Fool, no matter how sharp your mind is, you're too weak. It's a waste of time toying with a puny second-layer radiant stage cultivator. Hi, hi, hi. Pa. Zhuo Fan's hand on Chu Qingsheng got thrown off, and then a burst of distant laughter echoed. Too bad the guy didn't notice Shua's eyes sporting an extra bright azure flame roar. The prismatic dragon roamed within his mind, surrounded by the fog, yet never approaching. The prismatic shield protected it from anything. The dragon's eyes snapped open and howled as a torrent of azure flame exploded from within it into an inferno, burning away any trace of the fog. Zhuo Fan opened his eyes, the azure flame flicking on his forehead, clearing his mind. The guy played for so long he got cocky. He has no clue of the meaning of who laughs last. Zhuo Fan snickered. With the azure flame, no method will ever harm my soul. Now, then, time to follow him to his lair. Zhuo Fan then gave his white surroundings a once-over and sighed. Almost forgot. I'm still stuck in his array. If you can set one, can I as well? I have sacred stones too. If there's one thing I don't lack, it's sacred stones. Hi, hi, hi. With a cackle, Zhuo Fan waved his hands, and the lights released formed an intricate array, then formed a hand sign and shouted, "Array on array." Boom! With a large quake, Zhuo Fan at the center, a dazzling light flashed. Expanding in all directions, the inexplicable fog had met its match, scattering on the spot. The empty town was now clear and regained its quiet nature, except for being empty. Chapter 617, Demonic. Chapter 617, Demonic. Oh no! In a deep cave, a shriek bounced off the solid bedrock. Shui Rehua and the newly captured prey opened their eyes to witness a most blushing scene. They saw a blushing man with red hair and a creepy smile. The same youth they met 2 weeks back, as well as a most familiar woman, howling under that vile spawn of a human being, junior sister. Shui Rehua cried, "You bastard, let her go." She felt powerless to come to her rescue. Finding her cultivation sapped, the redhead snickered. Hi, hi, hi. Lassie, are you that excited? Don't worry, your number will come up soon. Rotten piece of filth. Shui Rehua's eyes were red at the agony her dear junior sister was subjected to. Chu Qingsheng and Danner woke up as well to see the same revolting image, while of the demon's scheming sex gang. Only the women snorted something, as the rest were quite eager learners of this ritual the beast used every now and then. Fiend Yang was drooling. Hey, Pilgrim, we don't know them. Just bumped into each other. Do what you want with the girls, but let us go. I saw you trying to help them. Don't think your act will fool anyone. The redhead mocked. Fiend Yang sighed. Our leader is an old friend of that woman, so he wanted to help. We're different. Who cares? You're in my cave, so that makes you my prey, at my whim. The redhead cackled as he put more effort into his actions, making the mist under him cry one last time before slumping. She dried up under the naked eye, becoming a husk in seconds. Sucking in? Fiend Yang eased up. Since the guy trains in such an art, we guys should be safe. Ha ha. Whoosh. The redhead, however, stood up and flicked for a youth to fall into his hand. He then absorbed the red lights emanating from the kid. His essence, the youth, ended up dried up like the lass. Now, it's Yang. Fiend Yang's face twitched, looking at the redhead with pitiful eyes. Dude, are you a man or woman? Can't you just pick one? Let some of us have a shot at life at least. Hi, hi, hi. I'm taking both Yin and Yang. Don't you worry. I'll be tending to pluck an ethereal stage expert's Yang soon. It must be a treat for sure. Ha ha ha. Fiend Yang's face sank and looked at his fellow comrades, sporting the same bitter face. Here, I'm a mighty ethereal stage expert, finding my end at the hands of kid by having my Yang taken no less. Oh, the shame. Curse you, Zhuo Fan. You said you'd save us. Where the hell are you? Every victim here echoed his thoughts. As they gave their lives all so Zhuo Fan would come up with a solution, ignoring the old guys. The redhead pulled his pants with a happy grin and turned to the ladies present. You wear her in particular. Hi, hi, hi. Girly my. How ripe you are. Want to chat with yours truly? The redhead went to break both her arms and legs except for a creak. Nothing gave, and the guy looked baffled. Hey, are you sure you're a woman? How are you so hard? Come on, break already. The redhead snarled. What the hell is your body made of? You were mocked. Sorry, but Master gave us all zombie pills that harden our bodies. So stop wasting your breath. There's actually such a bastard master out there. I get punishing one's disciples, but to do it all so I can't enjoy you? The redhead was outraged. Who here is your damn master? Come out and cure her. Stop yelling. He's not here. Kuei Lang sighed. Dude, let us move around a bit or we'll soon be too stiff to even talk. We'll just turn to stone and die. Glossing over the plea, the redhead frowned and exclaimed, It's that punk. Just how is he your master when you have higher cultivation? That's how he has us under control. Kuei Gang lamented, coming up with an excuse. The redhead nodded, slapping his chest. Not to worry, the punk is stuck in my array. In a couple of days, I'll get the cure from his corpse, and then the fun will start. Hi, hi, hi. His lusty grin fell on Yuer and Bai Lian before leaving. The two glared in reply, then eased a breath. The zombie pill truly is a blessing in disguise. Contrary to popular belief, not all demonic cultivator women were like Humayer, not caring about her reputation and dignity. The redhead went to mystical heaven's sex side, patting Shueira's soft cheeks, then Danner and the other women. How smooth, how soft. Now that's what I call a woman, not a rock. Now break. Stop, you fiend. Don't touch them. It was I that insulted you. Take it out on me if you must. Someone shouted. The girls turned around in glee. Young master. However, the sight of him left them stunned. Xian Xiaoyu's hair was a mess, his eyes red, his face pale, and it bore a crazed look. His mind drifted off somewhat, his gaze nasty. Bastard. What did you do to young master? Shui Ruohua cursed. The redhead snickered. Nothing, just let him enjoy the show, lucky bastard. Yet look what that did to him. His poor heart couldn't take it. How is it my fault? There's no way our refined young master would. Shui Ruohua's face was red from anger. The redhead shook his head. Refined? You righteous, pompous cultivators just love slapping each other with fancy words, all for appearance's sake. I only said he looks refined normally, while when crazy he's anything but human. Quite the demon like me, in fact. Did you know this same nice young master of yours had a taste of your junior sister Zine? What? Shui Ruohua and the girls watched Xian Xiaoyu with questioning gazes. All he could do was hang his head in shame. He went demonic, just as filthy as this demon. Shut up, demonic vermin. Young master will never fall for your schemes. He'd never make such a mistake. An elder shouted. Shui Ruohua and the others cried, Elder Yin, all right. There were 3 elders at Xian Xiaoyu's side, 2 in the 4th layer of the ethereal stage, and the other in the 5th. They all looked calm with their eyes closed. Elder Yun was the leader, reprimanding despite not looking. The redhead walked over with a smile. Old coot, I had tried so many times to tempt you old guys, yet only he fell each time. With all of us having a demon inside, sooner or later it will come out. Since Mystical Heaven's sect young master is now a demonic cultivator, would that make Mystical Heaven's sect a future demonic sect? Ha ha ha. Preposterous. Young master is still too young and naive. While he may make mistakes, there is no way he will walk the same path to hell as you demons. He will not shame Mystical Heaven's sect. Elder Yun cussed. The redhead shrugged. It's all the same, since Mystical Heaven's sect's tiniest stain will make it a laughing stock to the other sections, a righteous cultivator learning how to pluck his sex sisters in fact. Tell me if that ain't funny. Ha ha. The elder's beard shook in rage, while Xian Xiaoyu just hung his head. Shui Ruohua looked at this young kid in pity and sighed. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.